Question 1. The number of consecutive zeros at the end of k factorial, where k is a natural number, is a. Okay. If a is less than or equal to 6 and greater than 4, then the number of values that k can assume is how much? Okay. A question of number system, round 1. I am sure all of us know how to solve this question. Let's go through it quickly. Okay. First of all, the number of zeros at the end of k factorial. The number of zeros at the end of k factorial will be equal to the highest power of 5. So if there are so many zeros at the end, this will be equal to the highest power of 5. So it will be 5 to power a. In our case, a can be equal to 5 or 6, because as per the question, a is less than equal to 6 but greater than 4. So a equal to 4 is not possible. So there are only two possible cases. Okay. Now let's check out a couple of cases. Let me assume k to be equal to 10 factorial. 10. That means k factorial will be 10 factorial, and the number of zeros at the end of 10 factorial will be highest power of 5. So the highest power of 5 is 10 by 5 equal to 2, and that is it. Okay. Because 2 by 5 will be less than 1, so we will ignore it. So the highest power of 5 in 10 factorial is equal to 2. Similarly, while 10 factorial gives us the number of zeros as 2, 15 factorial will give it this 3. This will be true for 16, 17, 18 and 19 factorial also. Okay. All of them will give us the number of zeros equal to 3. Okay. But if we go to 20 factorial, the number of zeros at the end of it would be 4. Again, you can check out 1 on account of each of the 5. So on account of 5, on account of 10, on account of 15 and on account of 20. And this will be true till 24 factorial. So all these numbers will give us 4 zeros at the end. Okay. And when you go to 25 factorial, the number of zeros that will give us are 25 by 5 equal to 5 plus 5 by 5 equal to 1. So which will give us a total of 6 zeros. Or in other words, after 4 zeros, you will go straight to 6 zeros. So while the question says a can be from 4 to 6, or a has to be greater than 4 and less than or equal to 6, from our point of view, a equal to 5 is not possible at all. A equal to 6 is possible, and which are those numbers? It will be 25, 26, 27, 28 and 29. 30 factorial will not give us the number. 30 factorial, a will be equal to 7. So the correct answer has to be 5. Now those of you who are very comfortable with this, you would already know that my answer had to be a multiple of 5 only. And the moment you discover that a cannot be equal to 5, your answer has to be choice B only. Okay. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Question 2. During his trip to England, Mr. Clockylal, a horologist, decided to visit Cocoland, the museum dedicated to exhibition of cuckoo clocks. He entered the museum between 12 and 1 p.m. The moment he entered the museum, he observed that the angle between the minute hand and the hour hand of one of the clocks was 20 degrees. While leaving the museum, he observed that the angle between the minute hand and hour hand of the same clock was 220 degrees. If he spent more than 3 and less than 4 hours in the museum, how much time did he exactly spend in the museum? For me, this was a round 2 question. Round 2 because it's lengthy to read, and only after I read will I be able to say whether it can be solved and in how much time. So all questions are lengthy to read. I'll typically leave it in round 2. But if you are willing to spend something like 3 minutes on a question in round 1, then this is a round 1 question for those of you who are comfortable with clocks. Let's see how to solve this question. First of all, let's look at when did the person enter. When the person entered, then the angle between the minute hand and the hour hand was 20 degrees, and this was between 12 noon and 1 p.m. So what is the time at which the person entered? Now the minute hand gains 5.5 degrees per minute. But the minute hand has gained 20 degrees. That means the total time elapsed is 20 upon 5.5, or which is nothing but 20 into 2 by 11, which is equal to 40 by 11, which is nothing but 3 minutes. and 7 by 11 minutes. Okay. Okay. Or I can say he entered the museum at 12 o'clock 7 by 11 minutes. Okay. 12 hours 7 by 11 minutes. Okay. Now Mr. Clockylal left the museum after spending between 3 to 4 hours in the museum. That means he left between 3 hours 7 by 11 minutes and 4 hours 7 by 11 minutes. Okay. The second thing is, when the person left, at that point of time the angle between the hands of the clock was 220 degrees. Now let's try to understand this. If the angle between the hands of the clock is 220 degrees, let me say it is, if this angle is, okay, let me say this angle is 220 degrees. If this angle is 220 degrees, then this angle is 140 degrees. That means there are two possible cases. You can get a 220-degree angle when in two particular cases. In one side, this angle would be 220 degrees. In the other case, this angle would be, let's say if this is 140 degree, then this is 220 degrees. So there are two possible cases that we should be checking for, that their person could have left at two different points of time, and at both points of time the angle would have been 220 degree only. Okay. So effectively the question becomes, what time between 3 and 4 is the angle between the hands of the clock 220 degrees or 140 degrees. Okay. So the next step should be, find at what time is it 220 degree. At 3 o'clock, okay, at 3 p.m. the minute hand is behind by 90 degrees, and when the person leaves it is ahead by 220 degrees. So in other words, the minute hand has gained 220 plus 90, 310 degrees. Okay. How much time will it take to gain 310 degrees? It will take 310, again it gains 5.5 degrees in 1 minute. So divide by 5.5 into divide by 5.5, or it is nothing but divide by 11 into 2, which is equal to 620 by 11, which is nothing but 56 4 by 11. Or in other words, Mr. Clockylal left the museum at 15 hours, or which is 3 p.m. 15 hours 56 4 by 11 minutes. 15 hours 56 4 by 11 minutes. He entered the museum at 12 hours 7 by 11 minutes. The difference of these should give you the time spent by the person in the museum, which will be nothing but 3 hours 52 8 by 11 minutes. Okay. Similarly, you should check out for 140 degrees. If it is 140 degrees, then for gaining 140, or rather not for gaining 140, the minute hand was behind by 90. So if the angle has to be 140 degrees, the minute hand will have to gain 140 plus 90, 230 degrees. So to gain 230 degrees, it will be 230 into 2 by 11, which is 460 by 11. You can find this, you can find the time when he leaves and check out is there another answer or not. So you'll find that choice A and C, both of them satisfy. This satisfies, hence the correct answer becomes choice D. Okay. So this is a lengthy question if we do it this way. But let's look at an alternate approach of solving this question. Let me clean up the slide so that we have some space for working. Let's have a look at the question again and try to solve it in a way so that we are able to cut down our calculation effort. The person Clockylal entered the museum when the angle between the hands of the clock was 20 degrees, and he left the museum when the angle between the hands of the clock was 220 degrees, and as we realized it could be 140 degrees also. It is either 140 degrees or 220 degrees. Okay. Secondly, he spent between 3 to 4 hours in the museum. Now we solved it by saying, effectively we need to find at what time between 3 and 4 will the hands of clock have an angle of 220 degrees or 140 degrees, which we said implies what is the amount of time that the minute hand will take to gain 220 plus 90, 310 degrees or 230 degrees. Why this much? Because at 3 o'clock, minute hand is behind the hour hand by 90 degrees. Okay. Minute hand is behind the hour hand by 90 degrees, so 220 plus 90 or 140 plus 90, this was the gain required. So I can even say that the amount of time which the person spent in the museum would be 310 degrees upon 5.5 degrees per minute. So many minutes after 3 o'clock plus 3 hours minus initial 20 degrees, because this would have been the case if he had started, if this would have been the answer if he had entered the museum at 12 o'clock. But he did not enter the museum at 12 o'clock, he entered the museum when the minute hand was ahead of the hour hand by 20 degrees. So minus 20 by 5.5. Okay. So effectively you could have said this is nothing but 310 minus 20, so it is 290 by 5.5. So many minutes plus 3 hours. And the other case would have been 140 upon 5.5, because I'm sorry, this is not 140, this will be 230. 140 plus 90, because the gain required is 230 upon 5.5 plus 3 hours minus 20 upon 5.5. So this would have been 210 upon 5.5 plus 3. Now this would have given the answer faster. In this case, you don't need to find the time at which he entered the museum. Interestingly, this could have been done in a slightly different way just by using the angles. The minute hand has to cover 3 hours, more than 3 hours. Okay, so those 3 hours are equivalent to 360 into 3, which is equal to 1080 degrees. Okay, so very sure that minute hand will do more than 1080 degrees. In addition to these 1080 degrees, he has to gain 220 degrees. The angle of the minute hand has to be more than 220, has to be 220 degrees. Okay, and finally, the initial 20 degrees have to be subtracted. So effectively, the total gain of the minute hand in this particular case will be 1280 degrees. And in the other case, it will be again 1080 degrees would be there. Instead of plus 220, now I'll do a plus 140 minus the initial 20 degrees, because he did not enter the museum at 12, he entered when it was 20 degrees. So it is 1200 degrees. Or in other words, the time spent by him would be 1280 degrees upon 5.5 degrees per minute, so many minutes, or 1200 upon 5.5, again so many minutes. Okay. You could have got the answer by any of these methods. This is an important question from my point of view. I think this question should be revised, especially look at this particular way of solving the question, or at least consider this as a way of solving, rather than finding the initial time and the final time and then taking the difference. As I've already mentioned, the correct answer is choice D. Both A and C are right. A gives us the answer on the basis of gain angle of 220 degrees. C gives us the answer on the basis of angle of 140 degrees. Let's go to the third question now. Question 3. At how many points do the graphs of y equal to 1 by x and y equal to x square minus 4 intersect each other? Traditionally, this question will be solved by equating. Typically, what people would do is they will say, okay, x square minus 4 has to be equal to 1 by x, which implies it is equal to x cube minus 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. So, you are cubic, you solve the equation and get the answer. But this kind of question you should do by just drawing the figure. Let's just try to do that. Let's look at drawing the graph of y equal to 1 by x. Okay, x and y, which is nothing but 1 by x. If x is 1, y will be 1. Similarly, if x is minus 1, y will be minus 1. So it is x is plus minus 1, y will be plus minus 1. If x is equal to 2, y will be 1 by 2 or 0.5. Similarly, minus 2 will give me a minus 0.5. So plus minus. Plus minus 3, plus minus 1 by 3. Similarly, if this is 1 by 3, this will be equal to 3. And similarly, if this is equal to plus minus 1 by 2, this will be equal to plus minus 2. Or in other words, the graph of y equal to 1 by x will be something like this, and okay, obviously they will meet at infinity. They will meet at infinity out here and similarly out here. Okay. Okay. So this is the kind of graph we'll have for x equal to y equal to 1 by x. Let's look at x square y equal to x square minus 4. If x is equal to 0, if x is equal to 0, y will be minus 4. So let me assume this is minus 4. So there is a point. If x is equal to plus minus 2, y will be 0. That means it is cutting the graph at minus 2 and plus 2. Okay. Now this is a parabola. Okay. There is a quadratic equation, so it will give us a parabola. So the graph will be something like this. Okay. 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 So how many points will it cut? 1, 2, 3. The easiest way to solve these questions are by drawing the graph. So please make it a habit that you don't waste too much time trying to solve the equations. Let's move to the next question. A shopkeeper sells shirts at a discount of 25%. Additionally, if a customer purchases 3 shirts at a time, he gives a pair of socks which cost him rupees 150 free apart from the discount. One day only 3 customers visit his shop. One of them buys 3 shirts, other 2 buy 1 shirt each. The profit earned by the shopkeeper on that day is 20%. If each shirt costs 500 to the shopkeeper, then what is the markup percentage? Let's first get the data in place. What is the expenditure? He sold 5 shirts. The cost of each shirt is 500. So he's sold, the cost price of the shirts was 2500, 5 shirts for 300 each. And because one customer bought 3 shirts, to that customer he gave a pair of socks worth 150 also, see. So 150 rupees. So his total cost is 2650. And his profit is equal to 20%. So which means he has earned a profit of 530, which is 20% of 2650. Or his his selling price was rupees 3180. And we need to now find the markup. Okay. We need to find the markup price. Now, if the mark price of each of the shirt is X, so if the mark price of each of the shirt is X, he is selling the shirts at a discount of 25%. So I can say the selling price of each shirt should be 0.75x. Okay. 0.75x is the selling price. And since he is selling 5 shirts, so the total selling price should be into 5. Now this from our point of view has to be nothing but 3180. Okay. Because the cost price of 5 shirts was 2500 plus 150 rupees for the socks. So the effective cost price becomes 2650. 530 is the margin profit that he's earned on, which is 20%. So his effective selling price is 3180. So this should be equal, and hence you can find that x is equal to, solving this you'll get that x is equal to 848. Okay. So what is the markup? The markup is nothing but a 500 rupee shirt, effectively a 500 rupee shirt was effectively marked up by 348 rupees to 848. So the markup percentage will be 348 upon 500 into 100. As a percentage, this will be equal to slightly less than 70%. 70% of 500 would be 350. 70% of 500 is equal to 350. Since we have a 348, your answer should be slightly less than 70%. Hence, choice B is the correct answer. Let's move to the next question now. Question 5. If E is equal to 3 plus 8 plus 15 plus 24 up to 195, then what is the sum of prime factors of E? Straight away round 2 question for me. I don't know how to solve it, and any question which requires me to think, I don't want to do it in round 1. So this is a round 2 question for me, but again some of you may want to do it in round 1 itself. in future this question will be a round 1 question for me because now I know how to solve. I could not solve this question in the paper and hence I left it unattempted. But let's look at the way of solving this question. Okay, here E can be written as 3 is nothing but 1 into 3 plus 2 into 4 plus 3 into 5 and so on. So effectively, if I am looking the first term is first term multiplied by first term is 1 multiplied by 3, which is 2 more than the original. Or I can say each of the term is nothing but n into n plus 2. Okay. Okay. Similarly, if you look at 195 is nothing but 13 into 15. So plus 13 into 15. So here we have 13 terms from 1 to 13. Okay. So what is the summation? Summation of this would be, say Tn will be summation of n square plus 2n. Okay. So my answer will be summation of n square is equal to n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6, and summation of n is nothing but n into n plus 1 by 2. Okay. Needs to be solved. Okay. So this will be nothing but summation will be equal to n will be equal to, so it is n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6 plus twice into n into n plus 1 by 2. The number of terms is 13, so n should be 13. So put n equal to 13 and you will get that summation of this number, or E, is nothing but 7 into 11 into 13. Well, which are nothing but the 3 prime numbers. So the sum of the prime factors, sum of prime factors will be 13, 7, 20 and 11, 31. Okay. Actually, since this is not a big number, some of you may also have tried or could have tried just writing down these numbers and getting the answer based on that. Please remember, if you have sufficient time with you and you don't know what to do, or you don't know how to solve a question, but you have sufficient time, then no harm in writing down the numbers 3 plus, for example, all you need to do is keep on writing on the series and keep adding it. Okay. What should also be visible, the gap between these two is 5. This is 7. This is 9. So the the next number should be 24 plus 11, 35. The next number should be 35 plus 11, 48. So you could have actually written down all the numbers, because at the end of the day these are the 13 numbers, and got the answer from there also. Not the preferred method, but that could also be explored by some of you. Question 6. A man adds some quantity of water to 1 liter of pure milk and sells the resulting mixture at the cost price of milk, thereby making a profit of 11.1 by 9%. If water comes free of cost, then the ratio of water to milk in the mixture. Now the first thing is that this should be a round 1 question for most of you, because it's a simple question of mixtures, and I'm sure most of us have solved this kind of question earlier. Now coming to the question, he is selling the mixture at the cost price of milk. That means on account of pure milk, profit is equal to 0. And he is making profit because he is selling water at the price of milk. So all his profit is on account of water. Okay. And this kind of questions you are best advised to solve with the help of choices. Let's look at choice A. Choice A, 1:9 is water is to milk, which means in 9 liters of pure milk, he's mixed 1 liter of water. On account of these 9 liters, let me assume the cost of milk is 1 rupee per liter. That means his cost on account of these 9 liters is 9 rupees. And on account of this 1 is 0. So his total cost is 9 rupees. Okay. But what is his selling price? He is selling this complete mixture of 10 liters at the rate of 1 rupee a liter, because that is his cost of milk. and hence his selling price is 10 rupees. Okay. And all his profit is 1 rupee on 9 rupees, so profit percentage is 11.19%, which is what the question is saying, and the correct answer should be A. So rather than doing all these things, you could have straight away said, check the choices. Profit percentage in this case is 1 by 9, in this case is 7 by 6, in this case is 2 by 7. 11 by 9 tallies with choice A, hence that has to be the answer. Okay. Next question. Question 7 to 9. The bar graph below shows the gender-wise deaths in thousands due to non-communicable diseases in 5 countries for the years 2008 and 9. Okay. Bar graph, rather two bar charts, one for 2008 and the other for 2009. For 5 countries, Indonesia, Russia, India, China and USA, it gives the total number of deaths separately for men and women. The data is easy to understand. Also, the numbers are not very difficult. They are, yes, most of them are not ending in zeros. But this is not a graph for me. This is a table. This is a table because the numbers are given. In a graph, I expect the numbers not to be given, and I have to decipher the value from the axis. So, from my point of view, this is a table. Does not look difficult to understand. Similarly, this data also is easy to understand. So, should be attempted. But I would like to look at the questions first. The first question: in how many countries is the number of deaths due to NCDs less? Okay, so we are just about difference. Okay, this question talks about a percentage change. Okay, in the 5 countries put together, total number of female deaths. While the first one talked about the total deaths, was the number of deaths. Okay, so it is the total deaths between men and women. This is talking only about the female deaths and absolute difference between total number of male deaths. So when I'm looking at this data, what I should remember is all of them want me to have the total number of men or women or the total number in general. Okay, and hence I should not hesitate, but I should create this table if required. For some of you, this table would not be required, but if you require to create a table, do it. Let's go to the question. In how many countries was the number of deaths due to NCDs in 2009 less than that in 2000? Okay, so number of countries with deaths due to NCDs was less in 2009. Okay, so let's do an approximation. Don't worry about doing the exact calculation. I can say the total number for Indonesia 500 plus 800, 1300, approximately 1400, falling down to 850 plus 3, 1050. So Indonesia has declined. This is one of my answer. Okay, Russia around 800 plus 900 is 1700, 900, 900, 18, 25. Okay, so while Russia is less than is about 9 and 8, 17 is approximately 1720. This one is 2009 is more than that, so it cannot be the part of my answer. Similarly, India 29 plus 22 makes it 51, approximately 52, 30, 51, 60. India has again fallen. Okay, so this China is 43 plus 36, that makes it 7900 approximately, and China in 2009 is 42 and 38, 80, so 8000. Since they are close, let's be very sure. Yeah, 46, 79, 79, 93 is China in 2008, 79, 93. Okay, while in 2009 it is 41 plus 38, 79, 95. It's more than that, so even China is incorrect. USA has definitely fallen. I don't really need to. These two numbers are almost the same, while this number is almost half. So it's fallen. So the answer should be 3 countries: Indonesia, India, and USA. Next question. By what percent was the total number of female deaths in the 5 years more or less than that in 2008? Female deaths is what we need to find out. So let's first find out what is the total number of females who died in 2008. Okay, let's add them. Okay, when you add this, this number will come out to be 8800. Similarly, you could find the total number of females who have died in 2009. Okay, and then find the difference and get the answer. But from my point of view, I normally don't do that. I just look at the difference. So the number of females who have died have increased in Indonesia have increased from 815 to 850. So it has increased by 35. Similarly, in Russia, it has gone up from 892 to 925, which is 25 plus 8, 33. In case of India, from 2273 it has gone down to 2020. So 273 minus 20 is 253. It has gone down by 253. China from 3670 has gone up to 3850. So that makes it 200 minus 20. So plus 180. And USA has gone down by 620. So minus 620. And this total comes out to be, so you could club all the positives together and all the negatives together, or you could just start adding up the way you normally do, and we find that this comes out to be 625. Okay, so the percentage change will be 625 upon 8800. Okay, so let's go to the question and the choice. Okay, so in this question now we need to find effectively what is 625 as a percentage of 8800. Now you could always multiply this as per your normal method and find the answer. It will be nothing but 625 upon 88 because the two zeros here and here will get cancelled out. Another thing could be you could look at the choices and make your task a little easier. 7, 6%, 7.9%, 8%, 8.5% rather. So even when you are here, rather than dividing 625 by 88, you would be better off saying, let me see what is 88 into 7. 88 into 7 will be 560 plus 56, which is 616. That means if the number was 616, it would have been 7%, but our number is 625. So 625 should be equal to 7%, which is equivalent to 616 plus 9 as a percentage of 8800. Okay. Now again, 10% is 880, 1% of 8800 is 88, 0.1% of 8800 would be 8.8. So this is approximately 0.1. So this must be equal to 7.1%. Okay. Among the choices, the best option is choice A. Let's go to the next question. Question 9. What was the absolute difference between the total number of male deaths due to NCDs in the 5 countries put together in 2008 and 2009? So we need to find the total number of male deaths in 2008 by NCDs and 2009 and find out what is the difference. Let's go to the table now. Okay, now let's look at the difference between the male deaths for the 2 years. So we have 582 minus 275. So this will be about 307. This Indonesia, the number of male deaths have gone down by 307. Similarly, when it comes to Russia, so male deaths in Russia have gone up from 827 to 950. So taking the midpoint of 900, this is 50 more, this is 70 less, 73 less. So it is gone up by 123. India, from 2967 it has gone up to 3160. So 160 plus 33, which makes it increase of 193. China, it has gone down from 4323 to 4195. So taking the midpoint to be 4200, so 123 plus 5, 128, so it has gone down by 128, while USA has gone up by 96. Okay. And this total comes out to be 23. Okay. But if you just go back to the graph, the NCD deaths were given in thousands. So this difference of 23 means 23,000. Okay. And among the choices, the correct answer hence becomes choice B. Okay. Now, please notice the choices out here. The choices effectively are close to each other. Okay. And hence you should not be looking at making approximations out here. If required, please write down. Also, since the graph is in thousands, if I divide by 1000, this would become 22.5, this would become 24, this would have become 23. So actually this could not have been a choice and this should have been eliminated right at the beginning. Let's move to the next question now. Question 10. In a triangle ABC right angled at B, a median BE and an angle bisector BD are drawn. The lengths of DE, AD, EC are in the same order are in arithmetic progression. If the length of AC is 10 centimeters and AB is less than BC, what is the length of BC? Geometry round 2 for me. For me, all geometry questions are round 2 questions except mensuration question many a times. But geometry in general will be a round 2 item for me because I take time in solving these questions. Geometry is not my strongest area. So let's look at how I solve the question. ABC right angle triangle, right angle at B, given that AB is less than BC. So let's draw a right angle triangle in which AB is less than BC. Okay. So we have ABC, a right angle triangle in which AB is less than BC. Okay. We are given that the length of AC is 10 centimeters. So AC is 10. BE is the median and BD is the angle bisector. Okay. So median is the line joining the midpoint to the opposite vertex. So let's take it like this. Okay. So BE is the median and BD is the angle bisector. So it's 90. So this would be a 45-degree angle. So drawing a 45-degree angle D. Now the question says lengths of DE. Okay. Now this since BE is 10 centimeters, AC is 10 centimeters, AE should be half because E is the median. So this should be 5 and this should also be 5. So if this is X, this should be 5 minus X and this is 5. So the question says X, if the length DE, yes, X 5 minus X and 5. X 5 minus X and 5, these three are in AP. And we need to find the length of BC. Looked like a huge amount of work for me, so I said let me just see if I can work out something else. Now if I have a right triangle whose hypotenuse is 10 and both sides are equal, in which case each side would be under root 50, which is approximately 7 centimeters. Now since in this question AB has to be less than BC, that means BC should be greater than 7, which is under root 50, greater than under root 50, and this should be less than under root 50. So the AB has to be less than under root 50, this has to be less than, BC has to be greater than under root 50. Okay. So BC has to be greater than under root 50. We need to find the length of BC. Under root 50, as I just said, is approximately 7, slightly more than 7. That means choice A, choice B, these two are incorrect because they are less than 7. Under root 5 is 2.25 approximately. So 2 root 5 would become 4.5, less than 7 incorrect. That means the correct answer should be choice D. There is the way I solve the question. You want to find the actual mathematical solution, please refer to your solution booklet. Okay. But just again suffice to say that you actually don't need to know many theorems to solve questions. Again, let me just highlight the fact that SQC concepts are useful in questions. Question 11. How many triangles can be formed by joining 3 vertices of a pentagon? Round 1, without any doubts. Done this kind of question number of times. The 3 vertices of pentagon, any 3 vertices of pentagon has 5 vertices. So the number of triangles will be 5C3. 5C3 is 5 into 4 upon 2 equal to 10. Simple question. Good for us. Okay, question 12. Question of geometry, it's a round 2 question for me. I am not very strong in geometry, not my strongest area, and hence whenever I see a geometry question, many a time if the figure looks complicated, I don't even read it, but I definitely come back to do it in round 2. Okay. Let's read the question and see how to solve this. In the figure given below, AB is the diameter of the circle. If AB is parallel to CD, AB is parallel to CD, and AC is parallel to BE. AC is parallel to BE. These are not parallel, so we need to correct the figure. And angle BAE equal to 35. This angle equal to 35. No, it does not look like 35. So the figure has to be corrected because as per the figure, this angle is not 35 and this line are definitely not parallel. Then what is the absolute difference between CDB and ABD? Okay, I solved the question just by correcting the figure. The question says angle BAE is equal to 35 degrees. This does not look like 35 degrees, so I made it about 35 degrees. Yeah, about 30, a little more than 35. So this is E for me. This is not E. Okay. And obviously, if I join B and E, yes, this BE and this AC are parallel. This and this are parallel. So this should be fine. So, or in other words, this line and this line do not exist for us. Okay, this is the figure. Now this is obviously a angle in a right angle, so there is a 90-degree angle. As per the question and as per figure, this is 35-degree angle. We need to find the absolute difference between angle CDB and ABD. CDB is this angle and angle ABD is this angle. Okay. Now if you look at this figure, this angle is more than 90. How much more than 90? Look to be 90 plus 30, 35, 40. Between 30 and 45 is what it looked to me. So I can take it to be, say, about angle CDB. I am saying is approximately 90 plus 35, 40. So maybe somewhere around, let's say 130 is what I took it to be. Similarly, we need to find the value of angle ABD. Again, if I put my scale out here, this looks like a 30-degree angle, okay, or maybe slightly lesser. Okay, so I can say angle ABD on visual inspection looks to be something like a 60 to 65-degree angle. Okay, the difference, hence my answer should be 70 degrees. Mark the answer and moved on. This is the way I did the question, but obviously many of you may not be very happy with it. So let me look at the standard conventional way of solving the question. Let me erase whatever I have written on the slide already. Okay. So coming back to this question, as per the question, now we'll solve it using geometry. These two are parallel lines. These two are parallel lines. The figure has deliberately been made not to scale or made incorrect so that we get confused. As per the question, angle BAE is 35 degrees. This angle is 35 degrees. Angle E is the angle in semicircle, so it has to be a 90-degree angle, and hence angle B has to be 55-degree angle. Now AB and CD are parallel lines. Also AC, we have AB and CD are parallel lines. AC is parallel to CE. AC is parallel to BE. AC and BE are parallel. That means effectively AB is nothing but the transversal, or this angle should also be 55 degrees. So angle CAB and EBA have to be equal, they have to be both 55 degrees. Yeah. Also, ABCD is a cyclic quadrilateral. Since the cyclic quadrilateral, the sum of opposite angles should be 180 degrees, or in other words, this angle should be 55 minus 180 minus 55, so makes it 125 degrees. Okay. And now finally, since AB is parallel to CD, AB is parallel to CD, BD is nothing but the transversal. So I can say AB, let's say if this is AB and CD, then, and this angle is 125. So this angle should be 180 minus 125. Okay. Or this is angle is 125. So that should be 180 minus 125. These are parallel lines and BD effectively is the transversal. So this should be 55. So if this is 55, so our answer should be 125 degrees, which is angle CDB is 125 degrees, ABD is 55 degrees. So the difference between the two is 70 degrees. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Question 13. Let S be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The number of subsets of S comprising composite numbers only and that of those comprising prime numbers only are n1 and n2 respectively. What is the absolute difference between n1 and n2? n1 and n2 are the number of sets of composite numbers and prime numbers. So which are the composite numbers in this case? So let us look at this set of composite numbers. Which numbers will it contain? Composite numbers in the given set are 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 and 12. and the prime numbers in this given set are 2, 3, 5, 11. 3, 5, 11. So how many sets are possible with these four prime numbers? The sets of prime numbers, they could have any one of them. They could have two prime numbers, three prime numbers, or all four. So in how many ways can you create a set of four prime one prime number out of these? There's nothing but 4C1 plus 4C2, taking two prime numbers, plus 4C3, three prime numbers out of it, 4C4. 4C4 is 1. 4C1 is 4, 4C3 also is 4, 4C2 is 4 into 3 12 by 2 6. So the total number of sets which are possible are these 6 plus 4 10 plus 4 14 and 1 15. So in our case N2 and those are comprising N2 in hence N2 becomes equal to 15. Okay. Of all we are doing out here, seeing in how many different ways can we select. The total number of sets will be the different number of ways you can select. Okay. Similarly, when you look at composite numbers, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 composite numbers. So the number of ways you can pick up one out of them is 61. You can pick up two out of these is 62 because so many different sets will be created, plus 6C3, plus 6C4, plus 6C5, plus 6C6. 6C6 is 1. This is 6, C5 and 6C5. 6C1 and 6C5 are equal. Similarly, 6C2. 6C2 will be 6 into 5 upon 2, which is 15. So this is 15 and this is 15. And 6C3 is 6 into 5 into 4 upon 3 into 2. So which is equal to 20. So 20 and 30, 50, 56, 62, 63. So N1 is equal to 63. The difference between the two becomes 48. Correct answer is choice C. Okay. This was a round one question for me because of simple questions of set theory. Okay. I'm sure many of you have made one mistake in this. Many of you may have inadvertently taken one more prime number 7. Look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Most of us would have assumed that 7 is also here. If you did that, be careful. This is a careless mistake. If you found 7 also there, then you may have marked the answer as 32. And if you have marked 32, obviously this means it was a careless mistake. Please be careful, read the data completely, don't assume. In this question, there is a tendency for some of us to assume, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 12. Don't miss out on numbers in between. Please check for this thing. Is some number missing or all numbers there? Or are all numbers there? Yeah. Next question. Question 14th. E is a point on the side AB of a rectangle ABCD. The adjacent sides of which are in the ratio of 2:1. If angle AED equal to angle DEC, what is the measure of angle AED? Let's just first draw the figure to understand this. This question, was it a round 1, round 2? For me, it was round 2. Okay. Because as I've already said, geometry, I'd want to be sure, I'd take a little time, and hence it would typically be a round 2 question for me. Okay, let's draw a rectangle whose ratio of sides is 1:2. Okay. Okay. Let's take this rectangle as ABCD. Let me assume the sides are 1 and 2, which means the length of this is 1, the length of this is 2. The question says E is a point on AB such that angle AED, E is a point, let's say here, could be anywhere just for understanding. So that angle AED is equal to angle DEC. Okay. So the question is saying this angle and this angle is equal. What is the value of this angle? Okay. Now let's look at what happens or where can E be first of all. Now if I have this rectangle with me, the ratio of whose sides are 1:2. Okay. So I have A, B, C, D. Okay. Let me say E is the midpoint. If E is the midpoint and the sides are 1 and 2, that means this will also be 1. If the sides, which means there is an isosceles right angle triangle now, then this angle should be 45 degrees. And what about this angle? Similarly, this is also 45 degrees, which means this angle has to be 90 degrees. Okay. So first of all, 45 cannot be the answer, because if angle AED is 45, this turns out to be 90 degrees, so it cannot be the answer. Okay. Secondly, if I shift E towards B, if E gets shifted towards B, what is my extreme case scenario? What is the maximum or the minimum? The value of angle AED will keep on reducing. If I shift E towards B, E keeps shifting towards B, the value of this angle will reduce. What is the worst possible case? This one. So this is 1, this is 2, and B is here, A is here, C, D. So in the worst case we are saying, or in the extreme case, B and E will coincide, and the angle that we want to compare, AED, will be this angle, which is theta, with angle DEC, which will be this angle. Okay. Obviously you can see these two angles will not be equal, but let's just verify that also. The sum of these two angles, theta and let me say alpha, is 90 degree. How much will be tan theta? Tan theta will be equal to 1 by 2, and we know that tan of 30 degrees is equal to 1 upon root 3, which is approximately equal to 1 upon 1.7, which is equal to, let's say, 0.6. Okay, so theta will be slightly lesser than 30 degrees. Let's say theta is 25 degrees. But even if theta is 30, the alpha will be 60. If theta is 25, this will be 55. Or these two angles will not be equal, so 15 degrees is also ruled out in this particular case. So, given the choices, you should straight away mark the answer as 75 degrees. Okay. The other thing which you could also look at doing is that if I have this particular rectangle, and at the midpoint, again 1 is to 2, at the midpoint we have a 45-90. If I shift from E to B, if this is the midpoint, if I shift towards this side, the value will reduce. If I shift towards this side, the value will increase. So if it is 45 like this, I bring it here, there will be some point where it will be equal, these two will be equal. And hence again 75 is the right answer. Okay. Let's look at the next question. Again a question from in DI. Let's look at the table. Table below gives financial indicators of 14 European countries. Okay, great. So that's the data given to us. Let's come back to the data after looking at the question, but very quickly it gives us the inflation percentage, interest rate, debt to GDP ratio in percentage terms, and fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP. So debt and GDP both are given as percentage of GDP. So because debt upon GDP and fiscal deficit upon GDP is given, that I can also say debt is to GDP, if fiscal deficit is also given. For example, I can say ratio of debt of Austria to fiscal deficit of Austria will be 70 is to 4.8, because this is nothing but 70% of GDP and this is 4.8% of GDP. Similarly, if you look at Estonia, the ratio of debt to fiscal deficit will be 7.7 is to 1.7. Okay. Now, this much if you have understood, it's good enough. Let's go to the data. Let me just clean up the slide because we may need it again. Let us go through the questions quickly. Question 15th. If the fiscal deficit of France was X euros, which was 50% more than that of Belgium, then what was the debt of Belgium? Okay. So the data given to us is fiscal deficit of France is X euros, but this is 50% more. It is 50% more than that of Belgium, or it is 3 by 2 times that of Belgium. That means the fiscal deficit of Belgium should be 2/3 of X. Okay. Then what was the debt on euros? Now just remember, we know GDP, or rather we know fiscal deficit upon GDP, and we know the debt upon GDP figures for all the countries. And as I said, if I know fiscal deficit is, let's say, 5% of GDP, debt is, let's say, 30% of GDP, that means the ratio of fiscal deficit to debt should be 5 is to 30. Okay. So all we need to do is go back to the data and get the ratio of fiscal deficit to debt of Belgium. Quickly going back to the table, For Belgium, debt is 100.8% of GDP, while fiscal deficit 4.8. So 100.8 is to 4.8 is debt to, so debt and fiscal deficit is 100.8 and this is 4.8. Okay. But we know that fiscal deficit of Belgium is 2 by 3 of x. So debt of Belgium should be 100.8 upon 4.8 into 2 by 3 of x, which is nothing but 1008 upon 48. I'm sorry, 1008 into 2 by 3 of x. Okay. Now this is a multiple of 3. This is 8 plus 1, 9. So okay, so this becomes 336. Obviously these are this 24. Okay, so 24 should be 14 among the choices. It should be 14 because 336 upon 24. My answer should end up in 4. So it should be 14x. But in any case, you can also see you can just check out 24 into 14 also. Okay, so the correct answer is choice C. Okay. Next question. The countries with long-term interest less than 4% per annum, debt to GDP less than 60%, and fiscal rating not more than 4.6% were given AAA rating. The number of countries that were rated AAA among the 14 in FY 12-13 were. So let's go back to the table and see which are the ones which are able to meet all the requirements. So we're looking at long-term interest less than 4%. So we want long-term less than 4%. We want fiscal deficit to be not more than 4.6, so less than equal to 4.6%. And debt to GDP I think was less than 60%. Yes, less than 60%. So let's see which are the countries which satisfy all the conditions. Less than 60%. So less than 4%. We need to look at 1, 2, 3. I'll just keep ticking on them, and next step will. Okay, yeah. So these are the countries which have long-term interest of less than 4%. Now for the second table, I'll just focus on these. I'll not worry about Cyprus, for example, because it has not qualified here, so I'll not worry about it here. Okay, debt to GDP less than 60% is required. This is ruled out. Austria, no. Okay, Denmark is the one which I look at. Then Finland is the next one. This is moved out. Okay, not possible. Okay. So only two countries qualify the first two criteria. Okay, and obviously for the third criteria, I need to check only for Denmark and Finland. So this is fine because it is says less than equal to. This is fine. So the answer should be 2. Only two countries satisfy the conditions given. Choice C. Next question. If GDP of Finland was 50% more than that of Italy, then by what percent was the fiscal deficit of Italy more or less than that of Finland in 2011? Okay, let's look at the question. The question says that GDP of Finland was 50% more than that of Italy. So let me assume that the GDP of Finland to be equal to 3x and that of Italy to be equal to 2x. So if I'm looking at Finland and Italy, the GDP, I am saying let this be 3x and 2x because this goes by the condition that GDP of Finland has to be 50% more than that of Italy. Okay. Next it says by what percent was the fiscal deficit. Okay. Now what is the fiscal deficit of these two countries? Let's check out on the data. Fiscal deficit of Finland and Italy. Okay. Fiscal deficit is 3.4% of GDP for Finland For Finland it is 3.4%, for Italy it is 5.1%. Okay. So fiscal deficit of Finland would be 3.4% of 3x, while this will be 5.1% of 3x. Or the total GDP of Finland would be 3.4 into 3, that makes it 10.2% of x, and this also is 10.2% of x, hence the answer has to be 0. There is no difference between the two. Question 18. AB is a two-digit prime number such that one of the dates is 3. If the absolute difference between the dates of the number is not a factor of 2, then how many different values can AB assume? Round 1 question. Round 1, because cases have to be made simple number and the cases cannot be very high because the choices are small. Okay. It says one of the dates is 3. If one of the dates is 3 and the difference between the digits is not a factor of 2, the factors of 2 will be 1 and 2. If one of the dates is 3, that means the other dates which are not possible are 1 is not possible because 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 is not possible, 4 is not possible, 5 is not possible. So these 5 dates are not possible, so I have to create prime numbers with one of the digits as 3 and other digits which are none of these. None of these are possible. So if A is 3, the only odd numbers, because we need a prime number which can be 7, 37 satisfies, and 39 is a factor of 13 and 3, so not possible. Next, let's look at B being 3. If B is 3, the digits which are possible are 6, 7, 8, 9. So maximum of 4 are possible. Let's see which ones put in. If I put 6, it will not be possible because 63 is a multiple of 3. 73 is possible. It's a prime number. 83 is a prime number. And 93 is not a prime number, so incorrect. So the correct answer is only 3 numbers satisfy, and the numbers are 37, 73 and 83. Extremely simple round 1 question. Question 19. A spherical ball of maximum possible volume is placed inside a right circular cone of height h units. The radius of the base of cone is equal to h by root 3. Then the ratio of the volume of the sphere to that of the cone is. Okay. Round 2 question. Figure has to be made. It would take time, some amount of calculation would be there. So for me it's a round 2 question. But when I come to round 2, let's see how do we solve this. First of all, we need to place a sphere of maximum volume inside the cone, which is similar as placing a circle inside a triangle. Okay. So if we just take a cross section, you will say that I need to place a circle of maximum area inside a cone, inside a triangle, sorry. Okay. So if you take a cross section of the cone, this is the way it will look. Okay. And which is what I said by saying we need to place a circle of maximum area and hence the sphere of maximum volume inside this triangle. Okay. It's given to us that the height of cone is h. Let me take h equal to 1 to make my calculation easier. Okay. So the height of the cone is 1 and the radius of the base of cone is 1 by root 3. So that means this is 1 upon root 3. Okay. Let me call this as d. Okay. Let me first try to find this angle. Okay. The height is 1 and the height AD, h is equal to AD equal to 1. Okay. Okay. Now this angle theta, tan theta is opposite side upon the base, which is equal to 1 upon root 3, which implies theta is equal to 30 degrees, or in other words, this complete angle will be equal to 60 degrees. This angle is 60 degrees. If this is 60 degrees and these two are equal, that means this is an equilateral triangle, 60 degrees and 60 degrees. Now since an equilateral triangle, that means the center of the circle will be at the centroid of the triangle. Okay. And centroid of the triangle is at a distance of 1/3 from the base. So I can say the radius of the circle of the sphere should be equal to 1 by 3 of h. Since we have taken h to be 1, it is equal to 1 by 3. So let's find the volume of the sphere and the cone. Volume of cone is 1 by 3 pi r square h. We need to find the ratio of sphere to cone. So let's, sphere will be equal to 4 by 3 pi r cube. Radius is 1 by 3 cube upon cone. Volume of cone is 1 by 3 pi r square h. Since the radius of the cone is 1 by root 3, so it is 1 upon root 3 square into h, which is 1. So let's start cancelling out. These two get cancelled out. These two again are getting cancelled out. So which is equal to 4 upon 27 upon 1 by 3, which is equal to 4 by 9, or the answer has to be 4:9. Choice A. Question 20. Let fx be equal to ax square plus bx plus c, where a, b, c are real numbers and a not equal to 0. If fx attains its maximum value at x equal to 2, then what is the sum of roots of fx equal to 0? Maximum is at x equal to 2. Let's see. We are given that fx is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. Now, one of the concepts from class 11 which is very useful is differentiation. We know that the first differential equal to 0 would imply a maxima or minima. Maxima would happen when the second differential is negative and minima otherwise. So the first differential f dash x will be equal to 2ax plus b, and for maxima or minima this should be equal to 0, which implies maxima or minima would happen at x equal to minus b upon 2a. As per the question, the maxima happens at x equal to 2, so that should be equal to 2. Let's just check out f double dash x also. F double dash x is equal to 2a. Okay. F double dash is 2a. Now, for maxima, this should be a negative number. Okay. For minima, should be positive. This implies a is negative. Okay, so this implies a is negative. What is the sum of roots of fx? Now the sum of roots will be minus b upon a. As per this question, if fx is equal to ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0, for ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0, the sum of roots will be equal to minus b upon a. So the sum of roots is there, and we know that minus b upon 2a is equal to 2. This implies minus b upon a should be equal to 4. So the correct answer is choice A, 4. Okay. This was obviously a round 1 question purely because it's a simple question of quadratic equations. Okay. Question 21. In how many ways can 18 identical candies be distributed among 8 children such that the number of candies received by each child is a prime number? A simple question of permutation combination, round 1 question. Since we have got 18 candies and 8 children, and each child has to receive prime number of candies, the smallest prime number is 2. That means no child can get less than 2 candies. So if each child gets 2 candies, 16 candies are taken care of. 8 into 2, 16 candies are taken care of, and you have a balance of 2 candies only. And these 2 candies then have to be given to different children. No, these 2 candies cannot go to any one child, because if it goes to any one child, every child already has 2 candies, another 2 will make it 4, which is not a prime number, which means these 2 candies have to be distributed amongst 2 children at the rate of 1 each, so that everyone has either 2 or 3 candies. So effectively question is, in how many ways can 2 children be selected out of 8 children? And these are the 2 children who will get those that 1 extra candy. So 8C2 is nothing but 8 into 7 upon 2 into 1. So which is equal to 28. So correct answer, choice C. Okay, let's move to the next question. Question 22. Anushka and Anirudh are working together and can complete a piece of work in 20 days. They start the work together, but Anushka left after X days, and Anirudh finished the remaining work in next X by 2 days. Had Anushka left after 3x by 4 days, Anirudh would have taken x days to finish the remaining work. Find the ratio of the efficiency of Anushka to Anirudh. Okay. Round 1 question, time, speed and work, or rather time and work question, and hence round 1 for me. Second, as many of you know, I am not very comfortable with variables. I will always convert them into numbers to make my life easier. Let me assume that x is equal to 4. If x is equal to 4, that means Anushka left after 4 days. When Anushka left after 4 days, Anirudh completed the work in 2 days. Had she left after 3x by 4, which is 3 days, he would have taken another 4 days to complete it. Okay. Let me assume the rate of working of Anushka is A units per day and Anirudh is B units per day. So when Anirudh and Anushka were working together for X days or for 4 days, so when they are working together 4 days, the amount of work completed by them was 4A plus B. And then Anirudh alone finished the work in next 2 days. So plus 2 into B. In the second instance, Anushka, had she left after 3x by 4 days, which means 3 days. That means they worked together for 3 days. And hence 3A plus B units of work was completed. Anirudh would have taken another x days or 4 days to complete the work, so 4B. Now this is nothing but 4A plus 6B. And this is 3A plus 5B. Now since both of them are equivalent amount of works only, so I can say 4A plus 6B equal to 3A plus 5B, which implies, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, this should be 7B. 4, yes, this should be 7, this is 7B, which implies A is equal to B, or the rate of their efficiency or the rate of working for both of them is equal. Question 23. The number of factors of a square of a natural number is 105. The number of factors of cube of the same number is f. Find the maximum possible value of f. Round 1 question, number system. Okay. The number of factors of a square of a number is 105. If the number of factors is 105, that means the square of the number n square could have been, let's say, a to power 104. Because if the power is 104, the number of factors would be 104 plus 1, 105. Now 105 can be factorized at 3 into 35, which is equal to 3 into 5 into 7. So n square could even be, the square of the number could even be a to power 2 into b to power 34. So the number of factors will be 2 plus 1 multiplied with 34 plus 1, which will be 105. Similarly, n square could also be written as a square into b to power 4 into c to power 6. So this is the value of n square. We want to find the number of factors of the cube or the maximum possible number of factors. Okay. So if this is n square, what will be n cube? The number of n cube will be then, the power will become 1.5 times. So this will become a to power 156, which is 104 into 1.5 or 3 by 2, which is nothing but a to power 156. Similarly, n cube in this particular in this case would be a to power 3 into b to power 51. 51 is nothing but 34 into 1.5. Similarly, in this case, it will be a cube, b to power 6, c to power 9. The number of factors in this particular case would be 4 into 7 into 10, which is equal to 280. And hence the answer choice has to be D. In this case, the number of factors will only be 157. In this case, the number of factors would be 4 into 52. Okay. 4 into 52, which is 208. Okay. Correct answer, choice D. Okay. Question 24. Let Rx be equal to mx cube minus 100x square plus 3n, where mn are positive integers. For how many ordered pairs mn will x minus 2 be a factor of Rx? If x, again, this is a question of round 1, have done similar question earlier, quadratics and cubics or remainder theorem is something which I know. So it's a round 1 question for me. Since x minus 2 is a factor of Rx, that means R2 should be equal to 0. So R2 is equal to 0, this will imply Putting x equal to 2 in this particular equation, we get 8m minus 400 plus 3n should be equal to 0, which implies m will be equal to 400 minus 3n upon 8m, upon 8, which is equal to 50 minus 3 by 8 into n. Now the question says m and n are positive integers. M and n are positive integers. That means 3 by 8 n should always be less than 50. Otherwise m will become negative. Okay. So we need how many ordered pairs m and n are possible. Okay. Now since m and n are positive integers, m is equal to 50 minus 3 by 8 into n. The minimum possible value of n will be 8. Okay. So minimum possible value of n is 8. If n is 8, m becomes, this will imply m is equal to 47. Similarly, you can check further. N next possible value will be 16. If n is 16, then m will become 50 minus 6, 44, and so on. So what is the smallest possible value? You want 3 by 8 of n should be less than 50. So n maximum possible value of n would be 128. Okay. So 128. So m will be equal to in which case this becomes 50 minus 3 by 8 into 128, which is 50 minus 2, 8 into 16 into 3, 48. Okay, 50 minus 48, which is equal to 2, m is equal to 2. So the number of possible values are from 8 into 1, this is 8 into 1 up to 8 into 16. So there will be a total 16 possible cases. Correct answer is choice A. Question 25 to 27. This is a DI set. Let's go through the initial data. The pie charts given below show the distribution of the number of athletes sent by 3 countries to take part in 8 different games in the recently held Olympics. The number of athletes sent by US, China and Russia were in the ratio of 8:11:50. It is also known that the total number of athletes sent by the 3 countries put together was 2400. Now let us just understand this data before we move forward. The first thing is there are 3 countries whose data we have. They are US, China and Russia. They have sent athletes for 8 different games. Okay. And the number of athletes are in the ratio of 8:11:5. We also know that the total number of athletes which have been sent by the 3 countries together is 2400. So if we assume the number of athletes from US to be 8x, China to be 11x and Russia to be 5x, the sum of these 3 should be 2400, which means 8 plus 11, 19, 24. This implies that 24x, which implies 24x is equal to 2400 or x is equal to 100. Which means the number of athletes sent by USA are 800, China has sent 1100 athletes, while Russia has sent 500 athletes to take part in the Olympics in 8 different games. Let's move to the pie charts now. So US is 800, China is 1100 and Russia is 500. Okay, so we have pie charts where percentage of athletes are given. Data is easy to understand. There might be calculation, but it should not be difficult to handle. Let's look at the question. Question 25. If the female to male ratio for cycling athletes from Russia and US was 1:19 and 4:1 respectively, if the number of female cycling athletes was equal to number of male cycling athletes for 3 countries together, then what was the number of female cycling athletes from China? Let's look at the data given to us. Russia, China and US, let us look at the total number of cycling athletes. USA is 15% of 800, which is 80 plus 10 plus 5, which is 80 plus 40, 120. Russia is cycling is 16%, which is nothing but 80. and China cycling is 12%, which is 132. Okay. There is a total number of athletes from US, Russia and China. US, Russia and China. Okay. So what we have got here is that from Russia, there were a total of 80 athletes for cycling. USA, the total was 120, and which adds up to a total of 200. And the ratio of female to male. So let's look at females to males. Okay. For Russia is 1:19. That means Russia only 5%. 1:19 is 1 out of 20 is a female. So 5% or 4 are females in Russia, from Russia rather, and in 76 are here. Similarly, when I look at the US data, 4:1 in favor of females. So 4:1, that means 80%. 80% of 120 is 96, so 96 out here, and 4 out, 24 out here. Okay, or in other words, 100 out here and 100 out here. Okay, what is the number of female cycling athletes from China? Since China, the total number of athletes was 132 for cycling. Total cycling was 132, so this is 132. The question gives us the data that the total number of cycling athletes in the three countries put together, the number of males were equal to number of females. Since this is already 1:1 ratio between Russia and USA itself, that means for China also it should be 1:1, so 66. So there were 66 female athletes and 66 female cycling athletes from China. Question 26. What was the absolute difference between the maximum number of athletes sent by China, maximum China, and minimum number of athletes sent by Russia for a game? Okay, so maximum for China, any game, and minimum for Russia. Let's look at the data. Maximum for China would be, look at the biggest percentage. The biggest percentage is in terms of water polo, so maximum for China is 25% of 1100, which is nothing but 250 plus 25, so 275. So maximum for China is water polo. So and minimum for Russia, equestrian is 3%. Anything lesser than this, no, equestrian is 3%, which is nothing but 15. 3% of 500 is 15. So the answer has to be 275 minus 15, 260. Maximum for China was 275, minimum for Russia was 15, or the difference has to be 260. Question 27. The number of water polo athletes constituted what percent of the total number of athletes sent by the countries put together? Okay. So let's find out the total number of water polo athletes. We know that the total number of athletes is 2,400. Water polo US is 15%. So water polo in US is 120. 120 from US in water polo. Okay. Russia is 10% of 500, which is another 50. And China, we just calculate 275. Okay, so that makes it 275, 325, 425, 445. Okay. So let's get the calculation done. So your answer has to be 445 upon 2400. Okay. Again, 10% is 240, 20% will be equal to 480. So when I have this number 445 upon 2400, I can write it as 20% minus 35 upon 2400. 10% is 24. Sorry, 10% is 240. 1% is 24. 1.5% will be 36. So this number I can say is slightly lesser than 1.5%. So my answer should be slightly more than 18.5%. Choice D is the answer. So I can say this answer has to be greater than 20 minus 1.5, which is equal to 18.5%. Okay. Correct answer, choice D. Question 28. What is the unit digit of this number? Round 1 question. Should not be difficult at all. Cyclicity is something that we need to apply to this question. Okay. Now 7 7 has a cyclicity of 4, so does 3, so does 8. But 6 has a cyclicity of 1. That means if a number ends in 6, all the powers of that number will also end in 6. So this number will end in 6. Similarly, this number will also end in 5 only. Okay. Cyclicity of 7, 3 and 8. These are the things which we need to check out for. So 37 to power 68 will have a unit digit of 1 because 68 is a multiple of 4. 62 to power 77, this will 3 to power 77 will have a unit digit of 3. And 8 to power 135. 8 also has a cyclicity of 4 only, and this will have a value of 2, unit digit of 2. So in a way, we have to add numbers starting with 1 with another number ending in 5, add another number ending in 2, okay, or we end up with a number ending in 5 plus 2, 7 and 1, 8. And we have to subtract another number which ends in, this one, another number ends in 3 and this ends in also in 3. So 9. So you have effectively 3 numbers which are ending up with a unit digit of 8. From this you have to subtract another number which is ending up in a unit digit of 9. Okay. Which means you will borrow from the adjoining column. 18 minus 9 is 9. Okay. So the answer should be none of these 9. You would have also said the first number ends in 8. I have to subtract another number whose unit digit is 9. So my answer should be minus 1. Minus 1 is nothing but 10 minus 1, 9, which is the base minus 1, 9. So again the answer should have been none of these. Question 29. The coefficient of a to power 12 b8 in the expansion of a square plus b raised to power 13 is which of the following? Okay. Question of binomial expansion, round 1. Okay. Binomial is something which I know, I'm fairly comfortable with it, and I'm most of the time able to get the answer within the time limit of 2 minutes which I set for myself. The general term of this expansion would be 13 there, that will be 13 CR a square raised to power 13 minus r and p to power r. Okay. Now this has to be equal to some constant or the coefficient, which is what we need to find, into a to power 12 b to power 8. Let's just compare these two first to get the value of r, because once you get the value of r, the coefficient can also be determined. Coefficient will be 13 CR. Okay. So let's look at the the numbers now. So a squared to power 13 minus r is nothing but a to power 26 minus 2r, b to power r. This should be equal to a to power 12 b to power 8, which means 26 minus 2r should be equal to 12, which implies r should be equal to 7. Similarly, if I look at from this v to power and compare the power of v, it says r equal to 8, which means such a term is not possible, and hence the correct answer should be none of these. To get another way of solving this question could have been a little faster. Okay. We need to find the coefficient of a to power 12 b to power 8. A to power 12 b to power 8. We need to find the coefficient of this. But the expansion of a square plus b. So let me in this term not write a to power 12, but I will write a square to power something. So this can also be written as a square to power 6 b to power 8. Now this is in line with the term which is the equation which has been given to us for expansion. Now the sum of the coefficient, sum of the powers out here will be 6 plus 8 equal to 14. So this is 6 and a square to power 6 b to power 8. That means the sum of the powers 14, which is not possible. Why? Because it is the expansion of a square plus b raised to power 13. That means the sum of the powers cannot be more than 13, or rather sum of the powers should be 13. Okay, which means this term is not possible. Hence the answer has to be none of these. Question 30. Once upon a time, the king of a jungle planned a 2-kilometer race between a rabbit and tortoise. Soon after the start of the race, the rabbit took a huge lead. On realizing that even after taking a nap of 10 minutes, he would beat the tortoise by 30 minutes, he stopped under a tree to sleep. Meanwhile, the tortoise kept on walking. When the rabbit woke up, he realized he had slept for 14 plus T minutes and immediately started running towards the target at the speed 3 by 2 times his original speed. The race eventually ended up in a dead heat. If the ratio of original speed of the rabbit to that of tortoise was 6:1 and the rabbit overstretched his nap by 7 by 6 T minutes or 6:11 by 6 T minutes, how long did the tortoise take to complete the race? Round 2 question typically for me. Time, speed, distance, normally I put in round 2 because, and especially in this question, there's a lot to read also. So normally I would not even read the question, I'll say it's a time, speed, distance, lengthy question, let me come back to in round 2. However, this is the last question of the section. So round 1, end of round 1 or beginning of round 2 happen together. So effectively, I did it when I read the question. End of the section, so round 1, round 2 does not really matter. Okay. Let's look at the data. The rabbit planned to sleep for 10 minutes and still beat by 30 minutes. So in other words, I can say the rabbit would have beaten the tortoise by t plus 13 minutes. Okay. The rabbit would have beaten the tortoise by t plus 13 minutes. Okay. Okay. But he slept for 14 plus t minutes. So I can say the rabbit stretched his sleep by 14 minutes. He slept for 14 minutes extra. So 14 minutes is the extra time for which he slept. But the question also tells me he overstretched his sleep by 1 by 6 or 7 by 6 t minutes. So this 14 should be equal to 7 by 6 t or t is equal to 12 minutes. So he planned to sleep for 12 minutes but he slept for 26 minutes. Had he slept for 12 minutes, he would have beaten the tortoise by 30 minutes, or he would have, had he not slept at all, had the tortoise not slept at all, then he would have beaten the tortoise by 25 minutes. I hope this is clear. If the rabbit had not slept at all, had he continued running, he would have beaten the tortoise by 25 minutes. Okay? That means if he would have finished the race in 5 minutes, the tortoise would have come back in 30 minutes. Had the rabbit completed the race in 10 minutes, the tortoise would have completed the race in 35 minutes. Okay. The question is, how long did the tortoise take to complete the race? Let's check out. Choice A is incorrect because the rabbit would have beaten him by 25 minutes. That means in this particular case, if this is the time taken by the tortoise to finish the race, the rabbit would have finished the race in -1 minutes, which is not possible. Similarly, look at choice B, C and D. If the tortoise has finished the race in 30 minutes, then at his normal speed the rabbit would have finished the race in 5 minutes, which is nothing but the ratio of 6:1 in terms of time, which implies a ratio of 1:6 in terms of speed. So this should be the correct answer. Okay. The correct answer is choice B. We can solve it very simply with the help of the choice out here. Okay. That brings me to the end of the section. And we'll now move to the analysis of this section. Now let's just review as to how I attempted the paper. Again, as usual, I am looking at round 1, round 2 and round 3, or most of the time, as you know, round 3 may not happen at all. Okay. The first question was a round 1 question. Question 1 was a round 1 question. Question 2, the one of the clocks was a round 2 question for me. That it did not take too much time as a separate issue, but the fact is it was lengthy to read, so hence I took it in round 2. Question 3 again was a round 2, the graph question which I solved by making the graph was a round 2 question for me. Next I attempted question number 4, which was round 1 question. Okay. Question 5 I left it for round 2, but when I came in round 2 I was unable to attempt it, and in the end question 5 remained unattempted. But this is a question which I have to revise. The method is something which I understand. A similar question coming again, I should definitely get it right. Question number 6 was again a round 1 question. Question 7, 8, 9 are DI sets, which as you know are round 2 for me. Easy DI sets, but yes, to be attempted in round 2 by me only. Question 11 was a simple question of permutation combination, round 1 only. Question 12 was a round 2 question for me, and I attempted this by drawing the figure. I did not do anything else except draw the figure. Let me just also one more question earlier, which I would say I drew a graph. So this was also the SQC technique which was adopted in this particular question. Question 4 actually you could have also done by checking the choices. Question number 4 you could have done also by checking the choices, not that it was required, but was another method which was available. Okay. Question number 13 was a round 1 question, not a problem at all. Question 14 was a round 2 question, the one in which the triangle with the angles are given, and I again did it by drawing the figure and trying to understand the concept, and in a way you can say I applied the SQC technique here also. Question 6, 15, 16, 17 again are DI sets, so these were DI. Question 15, 16, 17 again are DI sets for me. So we attempted only in round 2. 18 was a round 1 question, simple question of numbers. Question 19, the sphere inside the cone was a round 2 question. In this, no approximation was made because these were questions which were close to each other. Question 20, 21, simple questions of number system and coordinate geometry, solved comfortably. 22 again was a time and work question in which I applied SQC. I assumed the value of x and solved the question accordingly. Question 23, a simple question of numbers, factors, and hence done in round 1. Question 24 was a round 2 question for me. Because cases had to be made, so I chose not to do it in round 1. Okay. Questions 25, 26, 27, a DI set, and as usual, round 2 questions. 28, the remainder question, not the remainder, the unit digit out question, a round 1 question. Similarly, 29, a question, the question of binomial expansion was a round 1 question, and 30 was a round 1 question. Okay. Again, in this we applied SQC techniques to solve the question. Okay. So this is the way I attempted the question. Which are the questions I would want to definitely revise? I will say question number 5. Extremely important that I understand, because as a concept I should have been able to get it right. Then the clocks question, again the clocks question, I think it's a question which you should be revising definitely. Okay. So when I'm looking at the revision column, I think out of the questions which are here, for most of you, the question which should be revised, I will just go through the paper again. Question number 2, definitely the question on clocks. Okay. Should be revised. Question number 1, I am sure some of you may have made a mistake and mark the answer as 10. If yes, then you need to look at this question again. Question 5 has to be revised because it is a concept which you need to know. If you remember it, it should be okay with you. Question number 3 should be revised because you drew a graph and hence you should be revising it if you are not used to it. If so all questions which have these kind of methods should be revised regularly. Then you have question number 10 actually. Did I miss question number 10? Yes, I missed question number 10. That was also round 1 question, and this was the SQC question. Question 10 is something which I would want you to definitely revise, because in this we solved the question without even knowing how to solve the question. Okay, we just said that one side of the triangle is greater than under root 50, hence our answer has to be choice D. Okay. Another question to be revised for many of you, question number 12, the question of geometry, that stupid looking figure, and question number 14. These two also should be revised. These are important questions. The concepts will get cleared here. So 12 and 14 again are important for a revision perspective. Then from the other questions, when I look at them, I would say question 22. Question 22, from the point of view of how to use numbers, how to substitute values to get the answer. The time and work question, when which I took x equal to 4 and solved it. Okay. Question 23 should not be a problem, and similarly the others I think should be fine. Question 30, again question 30 to be revised. So look at revising these questions. Question 30 to be revised again from the point of view of how to solve the question without really doing too much of calculation. Okay. So these are the things which I think you should be revising, which means when I look at the round 1 questions, this paper was, I would say, a slightly easier paper because I find a larger number of round 1 questions. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 round 1 questions I would say is a little on the higher side. Hence, I think it's a slightly easier paper. I hope your scores also prove it, but it should not be too big a problem. I'm sure there are quite a large number of easy questions out here. Okay. And if your scores are not up to the mark, maybe you missed out on the sitters. Okay. So please go through this paper again and look at the questions I've highlighted marked for revision. Additionally, I'm sure you would have your own list of questions which you need to revise. We'll move on to English section now. Section 2 VALR section of Mock-8. Let's go to the analysis of this paper. In terms of breakup, a very small deviation from a normal CAT pattern. In a normal CAT paper, you would expect 10 questions in reading comprehension with 3 passages, one of 3, another of 3 and another of 4. So normally you would expect a 3 plus 3 plus 4 combination, but in this case we have a 3 plus 3, so a very minor deviation, nothing too much to be worried about, which has resulted in one extra question out here, and that extra question is possibly from parajumble, because again a standard CAT pattern would mean 2 sentence correction, 2 fill in the blanks, 1 word usage, 3 para completion and 3 parajumbles, but that's fine, it's hardly any change and we can go ahead with this kind of a pattern. In terms of degree of difficulty, I would say closer to CAT. LR was possibly a little more difficult than CAT 2012, but maybe similar level of difficulty as CAT 2011. Okay. Let's go to the questions. Question 31. There is a question of para completion. Choose the one that completes the paragraph in the most appropriate way. 20 some years ago, I took my family, wife, toddler and infant to the National Gallery of Art in Washington DC. At one point I found myself alone and I suddenly questioned my assumption that the toddler, my son, was with my wife who also had the infant. As I stood in the gallery looking around for them, I saw a security guard framed in the door of an adjacent room. He was at first, as guards often are, as staid and unmoving as the statue he was protecting. Okay. Now let's look at the passage, or rather the end of the passage. The paragraph ends with saying he was at first. He refers to the guard, the security guard. The guard was at first staid and unmoving. This should definitely be followed by, if he was at first staid, unmoving, then he should be agitated in the next part. There has to be a contrast which should be visible. So when I am looking for continuity in this passage or in this paragraph, I am looking for a contrast to the last line. Let's go through the choices. Choice A. Suspecting the worst, I ran into the room and saw my son, who wasn't with my wife, swinging onto the frame. Incorrect on account of continuity, because I am looking for the reaction of the guard more than anything else out here. Okay. Choice B. My eyes then moved on to the painting that I had almost become the proud owner of. Paul Rubens. Then again incorrect on account of continuity as well as scope. We are talking of completely different things out here as compared to the paragraph. Okay. The paragraph is about his family, the situation there, the scenario in the gallery, and ends with the reaction of the guard is what I would be looking for. Okay. Choice C. As I glanced at him again, there came a crowd streaming inside the hall and made me curious for the reason of the commotion. Again incorrect on account of scope as well as continuity. Last statement. Suddenly he flinched, gasped and pointed agitatedly, horror smearing across his face. This is perfectly fine. He was at first stared, at first stayed and unmoving, then he flinched and gasped and was horror stricken. Correct answer, choice D. Question 32. Another question of para completion. the one that completes the paragraph in the most appropriate way. Historians have established that parts of Bangalore were inhabited since the Western Ganga dynasty, which is AD 350 to 550, and played a role in the fortunes of Chola, Hoysala and Vijayanagar empires. As the place was situated in a strategic location at the center of South Indian peninsula. In spite of this whole history, the founding date of the city is usually given as AD 1537, when Kempegowda built a mud fort which was later fortified by Hyder Ali in the 18th century. This fort was the nucleus of what is now commonly known as the Peat area, a Bangalore that preceded the arrival of the British. With the defeat of Tipu Sultan in Srirangapatnam, the British army garrisoned itself in the vicinity of the old city area of Bangalore, thus laying the foundation of Bangalore cantonment in the early 19th century. Okay. Now we have the four choices. What does the passage talk about? Let's discuss that first. The passage is giving us an overview of the evolution of Bangalore as a city, and the continuation should also be along the same lines as to how the city has evolved. Let us go through the choices. Choice A. For a significant part of its history, Bangalore was a divided city. Incorrect on account of scope. This is also becoming very, very specific. So in a way, I can say this is scaled down. So the scope is incorrect and the scale is also incorrect. Choice B. Through the 19th century, the cantonment gradually expanded and acquired a distinct culture and political salience as it was governed directly by the British. This could be correct. The scope is okay, appears to be okay, and also on account of continuity. Okay. Just go to the last line of the paragraph. End of the passage, it says, with the defeat of Tipu Sultan, the British army garrisoned in the vicinity of old area of Bangalore, thus laying the foundation of cantonment in the early 19th century. And then through the 19th century, cantonment gradually expanded and so on and so forth. So it is taking the thought forward, so on account of continuity it is okay. On scope, it appears to be okay, but my only issue is it is possibly becoming a little narrow. Rather than Bangalore as a whole, it is shifting the focus to Bangalore cantonment. But at this point of time, I will not eliminate this choice. I think this is fine. If no other choice is as good, then this becomes the answer. Choice C. This was the beginning of a very different Bangalore from the one that existed around the old fort. This also is correct on account of scope. In fact, the scope here is better than choice B, because as I said, while choice B is shifting the focus from Bangalore as a whole to the cantonment, this is still there. They still talk about Bangalore as a whole and the evolution of Bangalore as a city. So between the two, I would be more inclined towards this one, and on account of continuity, again this appears to be okay, because the evolution or the development of Bangalore is what is being discussed out here. Statement D. The overwhelming influence of the British also bequeathed a particular libertarian cultural character to the cantonment, that the conservative resistance of the city both rooted and longed for at the same time. This is incorrect. This is becoming very, very specific, out of scope completely. Okay, this is also becoming very specific and hence is incorrect. So our answer could be either choice B or choice C. These are close choices, but between the two, as I said, my only discomfort with choice B is it is becoming more cantonment oriented rather than Bangalore, Bangalore as a whole. So which is why between the two I will go for choice C. Difficult question, but I think if we just stick to the basics of scope, scale, continuity and tone, we can get the answer. Okay? Correct answer is choice C. Question 33. Question of parajumbles. Let's go through the statements. Statement A. At the critical moment. Which critical moment? We'll worry about it later. But there's some critical moment in the passage. A canopy conceals the act of anointment by a priest, not a civil official. Okay. Act of anointment at the critical moment. Okay. Statement B. The conferring of state headship is an exclusive Anglican ritual steeped in the Henry's Reformation. Okay. Statement C. The queen is serene and vulnerable, flanked by fussing bishops and ranks of hereditary peers, symbolizing the legitimacy of the inherited office. Okay. Statement D. succession is sanctioned and blessed by God with a staged cry of assent from the congregation. Statement E, the Queen 1953 coronation. Okay. Does it refer to the critical moment? Could be the coronation, moment of coronation. Okay. So back to statement E, the Queen's 1953 coronation, to be reprised many times on television this weekend, now seems medieval in its costumes and ritual. My first thought is E and C have to be connected. E and C have to be connected. The statement E talks about 53 coronation, now seems to be medieval, and statement C tends to be describing that. So the queen is serene and vulnerable, flanked by fussing bishops and ranks of hereditary peers symbolizing the legitimacy of the inherited office. So my first thing is statement E and C have to be together. Let's go to the choices. Choice A is incorrect because EC is not together. Choice B also is incorrect because EC is not together. Okay. C and D, both of them have EC together. Okay. So we need to effectively find out what follows C. Is it A or is it B? That should help us get the answer. Okay. Let's go through statement A and B separately. Statement A, at that critical moment, the canopy conceals the act of anointment by a priest. Statement B, the conferring of headship is an exclusive Anglican jurisdiction, Henric Reformation. Now between A and B, B makes more sense after C. So from my point of view, I'll say ECB. Why CB? Look at statement C. Statement C talks about ranks of hereditary peers symbolizing legitimacy of the inherited office. The conferring of the state headship is an exclusive. Again, these two are connected to each other. So ECB is a better option, and hence I would like to go for statement choice D. But before I do that, finally, obviously I will read all of them, and I will read the statement together, ECBAD together. That makes sense. So the correct answer becomes choice D. Question 34. Another question of parajumble. From the one, they need to form a coherent paragraph. Statement A. Logic suggests that Japanese food should not do well in North Indian fish-hating markets. Statement B. But sushi is all the rage because teenagers love it. Statement C. Over the last decade, new restaurants have opened and turned the conventional wisdom on its head. Okay, over the last decade, new restaurants have opened. Statement D. Similarly, fast food chains which survive on wheat should flop in rice-loving South. Okay. Statement E. My guess is that the differences will be ironed out as the new generation comes of age. Not difficult one. A, B, D should be together. This should be obvious. Okay. Logic dictates that Japanese food should not do well in North Indian markets, but sushi, which is a Japanese food, has been doing very well. And D, similarly, fast food chain which should flop in South. So A, B, D seem to be, or rather should be together, is my first thing. Okay, choice A has A, B, D, B has A, B, D, C does not have A, B, D, so C is incorrect. D has A, B, D. So 3 out of the 4 choices have A, B, D. So effectively the issue here would be the positioning of statements E and C. Both of them could come before or after, or one before and one after. Okay. Let's go through statements E and C and decide, and then take a call on where they should be placed. First, let's look at statement C. Statement C says, over the last decade, new restaurants have opened and turned their conventional wisdom on head. And then we have 2 examples of Japanese restaurants in North and similarly fast food chains in South. So logically C should come before A. So a specific instance is given out, or rather a theory is given out here, and examples in A and D. Okay. So C, A, B, D is what I would be looking for. This is fine. Choice B is incorrect. Choice D is incorrect. So C, A, B, D should be the combination. Hence the correct answer should be choice A. Let's move to the next question. Question 35, question of para completion. Let's read the passage first. When India revised its policy with respect to foreign investment, the country's balance of payment difficulties had not been resolved. However, the presumption was that foreign firms would use India as a base for world market production, earning the country vast amounts of foreign exchange. However, the expectation has been belied. The passage ends by saying that the expectations have been belied. So logically, next we should have some data which suggests why it has been belied or how it could be improved, or an example of the same, or an example of how it has been belied. So let's look at the choices before we find the answer. Choice A. This makes the foreign exchange cost of liberalization high and its implication upon India's balance of payment adverse. This choice A is incorrect on account of scope or maybe on account of scale. Okay, but definitely on account of scope, because the passage is about the foreign firm not earning foreign exchange. Okay. While this talks about the cost of liberalization. So choice A is going out of scope. So incorrect. Okay. Choice B. Unable to limit foreign presence. As a result, the government in those years opted for regulation to reduce cost of foreign presence. Incorrect on account of scope. Again, it is talking about issues which are not concerned with the passage at all. Choice C. That experience suggested that policy favoring foreign capital partly explained India's retarded development. Choice C again is incorrect on account of scope and also out of context, I would say, which again is nothing but the scope. Two things. It is talking about partly explain India's retarded development. This is talking about a very small period, so we cannot just extrapolate this. Secondly, nowhere does the passage say it was favored, foreign capital was favored. India revised its policy with respect to foreign investment. It does not say, it is an assumption that the foreign capital was favored. So choice C cannot be correct on account of scope, and it seems to be contradicting or assuming too much out of the paragraph. Logically, then D should be the answer, but we will verify it first. If it is incorrect, then we will go through all the other choices and then take a call on the correct answer. Choice D. Foreign firms do not engage in export, but their principal target remains the domestic market. This explains why foreign firms did not earn foreign exchange. So the expectation was belied. What was the expectation? The expectation that the foreign firms would earn foreign exchange for us. The presumption was that foreign firms would use India as a base, earning the country vast amounts of foreign exchange. But that would happen only if they engage in export. Foreign firms do not engage in exports. Their principal target is the domestic markets. Hence, this statement, choice D, becomes the correct answer. Question 36. A question of parajumble the odd man out, or the statement which does not fit in with the other three statements. Let's read the statements. Statement A. In case of a loss of coolant accident where there is no supply of light water coolant to circulate around the coal and fuel meltdown, the highly reactive molten fuel coal will drop into the coal catcher. Statement 2. It is a huge vessel weighing 101 tons and made of stainless steel. Are statement A and B connected? Could be, because it is talking about it is a huge vessel. Okay. And statement A ends with talking about a coal catcher. So maybe the huge vessel is coal catcher. We cannot say as of now, but let's go to the other statements. Statement C. Extensive research was done at Khrushchev Institute in Moscow before the catcher's design and the bricks composition are finalized. Okay. So this again is talking about the catcher. Maybe it's a coal catcher. Statement D. Another safety feature special to reactors is the coal catcher situated at the floor of the reactor building. Okay. So all the four statements are talking about the coal catcher or the catcher. Okay. Look at statement D and A. Statement D starts by saying another safety feature special to reactor is the coal catcher situated on the floor of the reactor building. It is a huge vessel containing 101 tons. D and B are connected definitely. Similarly, when we look at A, in case of loss of coolant, etc., coolant circulate, the highly reactive molten coal drop into the coal catcher. Okay. Again, coal catcher is in the floor of the reactor building. Okay. So D, A actually seem to be connected. D, A, B is the combination which makes sense. C talks about extensive research was done before the catcher's design and the bricks composition were finalized. Statement C is also about coal catcher only, but it is talking about design and it is introducing a new component called the brick composition. Hence, I would be inclined to say statement C does not fit in. D, A, B form a coherent combination because they are being very specific to the design or the composition of the coal catcher. While statement C is going into the background and also introducing a new component called the brick composition, Hence, the correct answer here has to be statement C. Okay, let's move to the next question now. Questions 37 to 39. A data set of LR. 4 teams T1 to T4 participated in a tournament. Okay, and each team played exactly one match with each of the other teams. The match were played on 6 consecutive days of a week from Monday to Saturday. 2 points were awarded to the winner of the match and no points to the loser. No match in the tournament resulted in a tie or draw. So very quickly the data says there are 4 teams T1 to T4. Okay. They played a match against each other. Each team played the other team only once, so there are 6 matches in all. There are 6 matches in all, and the matches were played on different days from Monday to Saturday. Okay. So this is the data which is given to us, and yes, all matches produce a result, no draws or ties. No draws or ties. Okay. And the last thing is 2 points were awarded to the winner and no points to the loser. So obviously when we are looking at this data, we will probably need to make a table. There's data given at the bottom. So we'll keep reading the table data and keep filling the table as we go along. So let's just read the table data. Statement 1. T1 won only one match of the tournament and it was played on Monday. So T1 has won only one match and it was played on Monday. So T1 won the match on Monday. That means 2-3, 2-4 and 3-4 did not play a match on Monday. Monday has to be played by team T1, and which means either 1-2, 1-3 or 1-4 played. Statement 2. The match played on Thursday was won by T4. Thursday was won by T4. So doing the same thing. T4. This match, so the matches which did not involve team 4, I am just crossing them out. Third statement. T3 won against T2 on Tuesday. T3 T2 match happened on Tuesday and it was won by T3. So T3 won the match on Tuesday. So let me remove this. So it is T3 Tuesday. This is T3. Okay. That means these matches are not possible on Tuesday because the match 2-3 has happened on Tuesday. Next statement. T2, T3, T4 did not play on Wednesday, Monday, Saturday respectively. Let's go one by one. T2 did not play on Wednesday. So T2 did not play on Wednesday. So any match which involves team 2 cannot be played on Wednesday. So this is not possible. T2 did not play on Wednesday. This is also not possible. Okay. T3 did not play on Monday. T3 did not play on Monday. Great. So team 1-3 match is also not possible on Monday. Then it says T4 did not play on Saturday. So T4 not played on Saturday. Saturday all matches involving T4 can be removed. So there's a cross for this purpose. Last statement. T2, T3 ended with the same number of points at the end of the tournament. Okay. So the 4 teams are T1, T2, T3, T4. T1 has won only one match, so it will have only 2 points. Okay. The total number of matches is 6, so there should be 12 points in all. T2, T3 have ended up with the same number of points. The same number of points could be 2, 2, which means T4 then would be 6 points. The other case could be that while T1 has 2 points, T2 and T3 end up with not 2 points each but 4 points each. So that makes it 4, 4, 8 and 2, 12. So this will be also 2. So there are 2 possible cases in this question, that T1, T2, T3, T4 have 2, 2, 2 and 6 points, or 2, 4, 4, 2 points respectively. So there are 2 possible cases. Let's look at the question before we proceed further. The first question says, how many points did T4 score in the tournament? It could be 2, it could be 4, 6 or cannot be determined. 4 is not possible. 4 is not possible. T4 has got either 6 points or 2 points. So 4 is not possible. Cannot be determined? Yes, there are 2 possible cases, and if unless we can eliminate one case, we cannot say if the answer is 2 or 6 or cannot be determined. Second question, T3 lost its match against, again we do not have sufficient data to do anything. The match played on Friday was between T1 T2, T2 T3, T2 T4, T1 T4. Okay. This will be helpful provided we know how many points are there. I'll come back to this question later on. Okay. So let's just try to first look at the two cases and see which of these two cases or both the cases are possible. Let's look at the first case. The first case is T1, T2 and T3 have 2 points each and T4 has 6 points. Okay. Since T4 has 6 points, that means it has won all its matches. That means on Monday, the match T1, T4 could not have happened. This match was not possible on Monday because T4 has got 6 points and it has won all its matches. So T4 could not be losing to T1 on Monday, and as per the question, T1 won on Monday. So this match was with T1. That means this is not possible, this is not possible. Now when you look at Saturday, this is the only slot which is vacant. All other slots, no match is possible. That means on Saturday, the match between T1 T3 took place. And since T1 has already won a match, that means it should be won by T3. Okay. But T3 has also already won a match on Tuesday. So if T3 is winning this match on Saturday, then we have a situation where T3 would have 4 points. But as per this data, T3 should be having 2 points. So this particular case is not possible and we can eliminate that. The other case is the one which is relevant. Okay. So we have eliminated the first case, that this case is not possible. That means the relevant case is this one, wherein T1 and T4 have 2 points each and T2 and T3 have 4 points each. So the second case is T1 and T4 have 2 points each. That means they have won one match each, while T2 and T3 should have 4 points or they have won 2 matches each. Now before we proceed further, let us quickly go through the questions again. Question number 1. How many points did T4 score? Cannot be determined, is ruled out now. It has not scored 6 points. That means T4 scored 2 points. First question we have answered. Second question. T3 lost its match again. Now T3 has got 4 points. If T3 has 4 points, that means it should have won 2 matches. If it has got 2 matches, it should lose, or it can lose either to T1 or T2 or T4, but not to both. So choice D is incorrect out here. Finally, the last question says the match played on Wednesday was between which of these teams? Which means the two teams which are not mentioned here could not have played the match on Friday. Let us cross out the two teams which are not mentioned here from the table. Okay. Let's go back to the table and eliminate the two teams which are not mentioned in the last question. So based on the last question, we can say that on Friday, T1, T3 could not have played a match and T3, T4 could not have played a match because these two teams are not mentioned in the last question. Okay. Now let's see what are the possible scenarios in this case. On Monday the match could have happened between T1, T2 or T1, T4. Two possibilities. No day has one blank, so we'll have to now make cases again. Let me assume the Monday match was between T1, T2. So the assumption is T1, T2 played on Monday, and obviously on Monday T1 has won. So if T1 has won on Monday, this match did not take place. That means these two also are not possible, and T1 Monday. Okay. And again Saturday, this slot is blank. If this slot is blank, obviously the only match which is possible on Saturday is T1, T3. Between 1 and 3, T1 has already won the match, so this match should also be won by T3. So T3, so this would mean T3 on Saturday. Okay, so T3 would come here also. Now let's look at Wednesday. On Wednesday, the match could be between 1 and 4 or 3 and 4. Okay. That means the match on Wednesday was won either by T1 or T4 or T3. Okay. If it was between 1 and 4, then T1 or T4 could have won. If it was between 3 and 4, then either T3 or T4 could have won. But if T1 wins, that means 2 matches won by T1, not possible. If T4 wins, that means 2 matches won by T4. Not possible because both T1 and T4 have won only one match. Okay, so this will contradict the data. And if T3 wins, then the matches won by T3 are 1, 2 and 3, which means it should have 6 points. So even that is not possible. That means this particular case, when we assume that Monday match was won by T1 between 1 and T2 is incorrect. That means the Monday match was not between T1 and T2. This was not possible. This should have been the case. I hope this is clear. When we are doing the first case, which means when on Monday the match is between T1 and T2, we find that either T1 has won 2 matches, T1 has won 2 matches, or T4 has won 2 matches, or T3 has won 3 matches. None of which is possible because as per the data, T1 and T4 have won 1 match only, while T2 and T3 have won 2 matches. So this case is also incorrect and we need to move to the third case. So this is the situation with us. Now we know that the Monday match has been won by T1 against T4. So this was the case and not this one. I hope you remember we filled up this and this based on the last question of the set. Okay. So T1 won on Monday against Team 4. So match T1 T4 happened. So T1 Monday. So since T1 has won the match against T4 on Monday, that means T1 would have lost all other matches because T1 has won only 1 match and it has got 2 points. That means it would have lost all the other matches, which would be against Team T2 as well as T3. Okay. Now let's look at the match between Team 1 and Team 2, T1 T2 match. Now this match has to take place either on Friday or Saturday, but either way we can be very sure that T2 will win this match. Why? Because T1 has already won a match and it has got its own 2 points, so it cannot win any other match. So between T1 T2, T2 will win, and similarly between T1 and T3, T3 will win. Okay. So this match has to be won by T3. Let us now look at the days, the Wednesday. Now on Wednesday the match could have taken place between Team 1-3 or 3-4. If the match on Wednesday is between 1 and 3, then Team 3 should be winning. Why? Because we have already discussed this, that between 1 and 3, Team 3 will win. Similarly, if the match is between Teams 3 and Team 4, even then Team 3 should be winning because Team 4 has already won a match on Thursday, so on Wednesday it cannot be winning a match. So on Wednesday the match has to be won by T3. I hope this is clear. On Wednesday there are 2 possible cases. The match could be between T1 and T3 out here, or it could be between T3 and T4. These are the 2 possible cases. If it happened between T1 and T3, T3 has to win. Similarly, if it happened between T3 and T4, even then T3 has to win because T4 has already won a match on Thursday. As per data given to us, T4 has won a match on Thursday, so it has already got 2 points and hence it cannot win another match. So on Wednesday the match has been won by T3 only. Which also means Friday and Saturday the matches have been won by T2. Now since T2 can win a match either on Friday or on Saturday, let's look at the possibilities. T2 could have won a match here against 4. T2 could have won a match here. Okay. Similarly, when we look at Saturday T2 has to win, but Saturday T2 cannot be winning here because this match on Saturday is again between 1-3. That means this match is not possible on Saturday, and hence T2 has won the match on Saturday, which was against Team 1. So in the match between T1 T2, T2 won on Saturday, okay, and that means this Friday should be blanked out. If that is the case, then we have only in this particular slot between T2 and T4, obviously T2 would be winning. T2 has won the match on Friday. So Okay, so let us cross this out also. Okay. Similarly, the match T1 T3, which means has happened on Wednesday, and this is not possible. And the Thursday match T3 T4, so this is T4. Now let's just verify. As per this, T1 has won one match, T3 has won 2 matches, T2 has won 2 matches, T4 has won 1 match, perfectly fine. On the other side also you could verify T3 1 and 2, T3 has won 2 matches, T2 has won 1 and 2 matches, T1 and T4 1 match each. So this completes our table. Now let's go and solve the questions. T3 lost its match against T1, T2 or T4. T3 lost its match against which team? It is 3-4. T3 lost its match against T4. So the correct answer for question is T3 lost its match against T4. The match played on Friday was between, let's go to the choices. Friday the match was played between T2 T4. Thus the match was played between T2 and T4. So the match on Friday was played between T2 T4. The correct answer is choice D. Let's move on to the next question now. Question 40. 4 statements are given labeled A, B, C, D. 3 needs to be arranged in a logical order to form a coherent passage or a paragraph. Okay, so odd man out in terms of parajumbles. Let's read the statements. Statement A. Nostalgia and wonder are the 2 emotions that dominate visitors' mind when they view the quaint collection of artwork harking back to an idyllic Bangalore in Fernandez's small gallery Apology. Thus nostalgia, statement B, thus nostalgia means this has to be a conclusion drawn on something or a follow up on some earlier statement. So statement B has to have something which is connecting to it before it. Thus nostalgia works at several levels, and as humans think that the condition of their lives is improving as they head into the future, a part of their mind also harks back to a supposedly simpler time when life was more peaceful. Statement C. Nostalgia can exist only when there is a linear conception of time and modernity, with its notion of progress, is deeply intertwined with the concept of nostalgia. C and B have to be connected to each other. C is telling us when it can exist, and the follow-up of that is B. So C and B are a mandatory pair in this particular case, which means your answer could be either statement A or statement D. Let's see statement D. And Fernandez's work satiates that hunger for nostalgia an old Bangalorean will have. Okay. So when I look at these statements, to me C, B, D makes a good combination. C, B, I am sure there is no doubt at all. D talks about Fernandez's work satiates that hunger. Which hunger? If we go back to statement B, the mind also harks back to supposed simpler time when life was peaceful. So there's the hunger which it is possibly talking about. Another reason why I'm saying probably A will not fit in is A is talking about nostalgia and wonder both, while the others are talking only about nostalgia. So there seems to be better connectivity. So I will say the correct answer or the odd man out in this particular exercise is choice statement A. C, B, D forms a coherent paragraph. Now both the odd man out parajumble questions in this paper are a little difficult because the 4 statements are talking about similar thing. In this, all these statements are related. This is talking about nostalgia, again about nostalgia, again about nostalgia, and again about nostalgia. So we need to go to the next level to eliminate. Similarly, in the earlier question, the coal catcher, all the 4 statements were about coal catcher, and we need to go to the next level to eliminate the choices. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Question 41. Identify the statement where the usage is appropriate or where the usage is incorrect or inappropriate. Let's look at the 4 statements. Statement A. The negotiators kept the gunman talking to buy time. Buy time, you can buy time. This is an appropriate usage, not a problem at all. Statement B. She had never bought into the idea. You buy into an idea is also appropriate usage. This is not a problem. I am sure most of you would have got these 2 right. And I am sure most of you would have been stuck between C and D as to which is the correct answer. Okay. Statement C. Joe finally bought it in a plane crash. Bottled in a plane crash means to die. Okay, this means out here. So this is also appropriate usage. Statement D. Supermarkets have been buying out champagne for Christmas. They have been buying in champagne. I am sure this was difficult for most of you. And while choice D is the correct answer, this is inappropriate usage. I hope you left this question because I am sure most of us would have got A and B to be correct usage, would have been stuck between C and D. And in English, in verbal usage, my basic assumption is when in doubt, leave. So between C and D, if you are stuck up and you don't have any idea what to do, you are better off leaving it rather than marking any one of them as the answer. Okay. You take guesswork, you go for guesswork only when it is your strong area. If usage is not your strong area, you should have left it. If usage is your strong area, then obviously you could choose one between C and D based on your gut feel and have marked the answer and moved on. Correct answer in this particular case is statement D, and as I said, a difficult question. Question 42, a question of fill in the blanks. Let's read the statement. It's the vulnerability of the political father figure played strategically. The vulnerability of the father figure played strategically to bring out something deeper from the, you will bring out something deeper from their followers, okay, or someone who looks up to you, the political father figure, than civil disobedience, something more like dash love. Okay, let's go through the choices. Statement A, let's look at the first one, first blank only, this one. You to bring out something deeper from the dash, from the followers, someone who's following you is what I would be looking for. Statement A, populace, yes, possible. Society, possible. Generality, incorrect. Generality cannot be the answer. And something deeper from the opposition, no, the opposition will not bring it something like this. Okay, so C and D are incorrect. Answer has to be either A or B based on populace or society. Now the political father figure will be able to evoke some kind of emotions only from the people who follow, all in particular, and from the society in general. So both of them seem to fit in. Hence, let us look at the second statement. Something more like dash love, something more like irrevocable love or unquestioning love. Only if it is unquestioning love will you be able to follow blindly, or will you follow blindly what your political father figure is saying. So between the two, I am more inclined towards choice A as the correct answer. Irrevocable love does not make sense to me. In the context, unquestioning love is a better option than irrevocable, something which cannot be reversed. Okay? So the correct answer is choice A. Now I've always maintained that every question of fill in the blank gives you 8 to 10 words which you need to make sure that you know the meaning of. If you do not know the meaning of unrequited, please find out the meaning from a dictionary. Please make sure every time you do a question of fill in the blank, any word whose meaning you do not know, please find out the meaning of that word. Let's move to the next question. Question 43. A question of sentence correction. Yes, I know it is difficult. Most of us are very poor at grammar, and hence sentence correction is something which creates problem. But as usual, we'll work with the choices. Every time we identify a statement to be definitely correct or definitely incorrect, we'll move to the choices and eliminate the incorrect option. Question 43, question of sentence correction. I don't know how many of you got it right. I could not solve this question when I was doing the paper. Only thing I could do is identify that statement D is incorrect. Okay. Statement D, if you pretend that you can't afford a ticket, you are disingenuous. If you shrug and say, I can get a free ticket to anything, I am Prime Minister, I am a Prime Minister, I am the Prime Minister, something should have been here. So I was able to identify that statement D is inappropriate in terms of usage. But I could not do anything, I could not identify anything incorrect with the other statements. So while I could say statement D is incorrect and hence choice A and choice D are incorrect, I could not identify which between choice B and C is the correct answer, so I left the question unmarked. Later on, while going through the solutions, I was able to get the answer, so let's quickly go through it. Statement A is there is nothing wrong with it since the breakdown of political formality. Pictures have stood for a different message for which the umbrella term is down to earth. This down to earthness has myriad of elements. It should have been, while doing the paper, I was not aware that this is the usage. So I left this, it seemed okay to me, and But now that I know this, I need to remember this. I will read this statement not once but a couple of times. I'll revise this a couple of times over the next 2 weeks or so to make sure next time the word myriad comes, it makes myriad of elements come naturally to me. So statement B is incorrect in terms of usage. While doing the paper, as I said, I found this to be okay. Statement C, for instance, to be down to earth, you have to like sport. To like sport, you have to choose a team. But if you go and see your team, you are no longer down to earth because you can afford a ticket. So statement A and C are correct in terms of usage. Statement B is incorrect in terms of usage. I'm not sure how many of you got it right. I felt that this was a difficult one. Statement D, as I already said, it should have been I am a Prime Minister or I am the Prime Minister. Something should have been here. Hence statement D is incorrect. Statement E, realistically all one can do is pretend you are too busy to watch sport, which works okay for the Harris sleep deprived Thatcher model premier, but couldn't possibly watch for David Suit Ninja Cameron. I'm actually disappointed that I could not identify E to be incorrect. All one can do is to pretend one is too busy to watch. You cannot have one and this should have been visible to me. There's a very normal error which is there. I missed this one. Had I picked up this one, I would have got the answer correct. That statement E is also incorrect. Statement E is incorrect, hence the correct answer has to be choice B. So I identified this to be the incorrect usage. I missed this one. This one should have been followed by one. Okay, you cannot have one followed by you are. So it is you're mixing up second person and third person, hence statement E is incorrect. I left the question unmarked. I don't know how many of you got the answer correct. My guess is not many. Let's move to the next question. Question 44. Question 44, another question of sentence correction. Unlike the previous question of sentence correction which I left unmarked, I was able to get the answer to this question correctly. Let's go through the statements. Statement A, the central question to answering in judging. This was obvious one. The central question to answer. The central question to answer in judging the proportionality of this sentence is whether the desire to punish a whistleblower driven by moral outrage stems from the alleged harm he did to US military and diplomatic interests, or whether it derives more from sheer embarrassment. Statement A is incorrect usage because instead of to answering, it should have been to answer. The central question to answer in judging. So statement A is inappropriate usage. Statement B, the judge presiding, Colonel Dennis Lind, had already thrown out the gravest of charge, that of aiding the enemy. It should have been gravest of charges. Okay. Statement B is also inappropriate usage. The moment I have A and B as inappropriate, A and B are available in choice A, not available in choice B, incorrect. Not available in choice C, not available in choice D. So A should be the correct answer. But let's go to the other statements also. Statement C, Colonel Lind had also limited the admissibility of evidence regarding the chilling effects that Mr. Manning's action had on US diplomacy by releasing 250,000 State Department cables. This is appropriate, no issues with this particular statement. Statement D, a military witness conceded that there was no evidence that anyone had been killed after being named in the releases. Again, nothing wrong with this statement. Statement E, now please understand, I marked the answer based on statement A and B itself. So when I am looking at statement E now, I am just trying to find the specific error which is there to confirm that this is the best option. Statement E, Mr. Manning's recent apology for his actions does not and should not detract from the initial defense he gave for it. Gave for what? Okay. Gave for it for his actions. So that it should be gave for them. It should not be it, it should be them. When he spoke of a shock at the delightful bloodlust displayed by that helicopter crew, all is believed that stimulating a debate about the wars was the right thing to do. So statement E is also inappropriate usage. Instead of the word it should have been them. Easier one as compared to the previous question, and also the fact that A and B were very visibly incorrect helped us just mark the answer even without going through the other statements. Question 45, another question of fill in the blanks. Let's go to the statement. Let's see the statement. For Septimius Severus, stood as a dash reminder of what Libya had once been. Dash reminder of what Libya had once been. A Mediterranean region of immense cultural and economic wealth, anything but dash from the world beyond the sea. Let's go through the statements, through the choices, sorry, and let's try to fit in the first word. For Septimus Severus stood as a dash reminder, constant reminder, yes possible. Wistful, yes. Steady reminder, also correct. Nostalgic reminder, all four seem to be correct. But when I look at it from the point of view, the second part, I am a little more inclined towards the word wistful and nostalgic. Okay, a reminder of what Libya had once been. So possibly there's some kind of nostalgia associated with it, or some wistfulness of this is what we were. So possibly B and C are better options as compared to A and C. While I can't definitely eliminate A and C on the basis of this, but logically it seems that B and D, wistful and nostalgia or nostalgic, should be better options for the first blank out here. Okay, but let's go to the second blank also. A Mediterranean region of immense cultural and economic wealth, anything but dash from the world beyond the sea. Let's go through the statements, through the choices, sorry. Anything but analogous from the world beyond the sea, choice A is incorrect because it cannot be analogous from, it has to be analogous to. Okay. Choice B, anything but isolated, yes, isolated appears to be correct. Let's look at the other choices also. Anything but different from the world beyond the sea. Different does not make sense because if it is part of a Mediterranean region of immense cultural and economic wealth, then it is possibly different from the world across beyond the sea. Could be a little different. So statement C, or the word different, does not make sense. Similarly, indistinguishable also does not make sense to me. Because all I am saying is the Mediterranean region of immense cultural and this is talking about Libya. Libya, Mediterranean region of immense cultural and economic wealth, anything but different. That means everything on the other side of Mediterranean is also of immense economic and cultural wealth. May or may not be correct. Okay, isolated seems to be the best option. So my answer would be choice B. Let's move to the next question. Questions 46 to 48. This is a LR set, and a LR set for me is a round 2 set. You can decide when you want to do it, but I typically do LR and group question in round 2. Let's go through the data. 8 persons are sitting on a rectangular table such that 4 persons are sitting along each of the longer sides of the table. Each person works in a different bank. Okay, the names of the banks are given to us, and each of them holds a different designation. The designation is also given to us. Okay, it is also known that, okay, now we have some data with us. Now typically in such a data, I would want to draw as I go along, which means I'll make a table and keep filling it up. For me, this is a table, and these are the positions in which a person is sitting. Secondly, there are two aspects. One is the designation and one is the bank in which they are working. So I'll keep filling up the data in this kind of format when I put the designation on the outside and the name of the bank in the inside. Finally, when we go through the data, it will talk about someone is sitting to the left or right. Okay, when in such a data, or when you are sitting on a table, you would again decide left or right depending upon the direction in which you are sitting. So if someone is sitting here, this is the left and this is right. But if someone is sitting here, okay, then this becomes the left because the person will be facing in this direction, hence this will be left and this will be right. Let's go to the data and try to tabulate as we go along. Okay, but obviously I would want to just draw the table here so that we can keep filling up the data as we get it. And as I said, on the outside I'll be putting the designation, on the inside I'll be putting the names of the banks. First statement, the finance officer who works in Bank of India is sitting to the immediate left of HR manager. So finance manager is sitting to the left of HR manager. So let me say this is left and this is right. So finance manager who is working with Bank of India is sitting to the left of the HR manager. Second statement, the marketing officer who works in SBI is opposite the technical officer. So marketing opposite the technical. So next data we have marketing officer who is working in SBI is sitting opposite of technical officer. Okay. Third statement, the agriculture officer who works in ICICI is sitting diagonally opposite the Rajbhasha Adhikari, who is sitting to the immediate left of the technical officer. So we have agriculture officer and Rajbhasha Adhikari being diagonally opposite. Let me just put that piece. So agriculture and Rajbhasha. So these are diagonal. Agriculture officer and Rajbhasha Adhikari are sitting diagonally opposite each other. The agriculture officer works in ICICI and Rajbhasha Adhikari is to the left of the technical officer. So he is to the left of the technical officer. So the technical officer should be here. The agriculture officer works in ICICI. Okay. Fourth statement, the law officer who works in HDFC is sitting to the left of marketing officer. So law officer to the left of marketing officer. So law officer to the left of marketing officer, and law officer works in HDFC. Now we already had this thing that marketing officer is with SBI. So I can say the law officer is to the left. So it could be on this side. Okay, let's look at the next statement now. Statement 4. I think we have done that already. Statement 5. The person who works in PNB and HDFC are sitting on the same side of the table. So PNB and HDFC are on the same side of the table. So PNB, HDFC, these people are on the same side of the table. Last, the Rajbhasha Adhikari who works in CBI is sitting at one of the extreme ends of his zone. Okay, he's sitting at one of the extreme ends. So Rajbhasha Adhikari could be sitting here or here or here or here. But we also know Rajbhasha Adhikari is sitting to the left of the technical officer. Okay. So if the Rajbhasha Adhikari is sitting to the left of technical officer and has to be in the corner, let me put him here. Okay. So if the Rajbhasha Adhikari is sitting to the left of the technical officer, okay, and previously it has said he works in CBI. So Rajbhasha Adhikari working in CBI is sitting to the left of the technical officer. And we also know that the marketing officer is sitting opposite the technical officer. So marketing and the marketing officer is working in State Bank of India. So we have taken care of this also. Rajbhasha Adhikari is to be diagonally opposite the agriculture officer. So agriculture officer could be here or here, but let's go through the rest of the data, then we'll decide. Next, finance is to the left of HR and law is to the left of marketing. So law is to the left of marketing. So if marketing is here, law should be here. And law officer works in HDFC Bank. Okay. So this piece of data also has been taken into account. Next, we know that PNB and HDFC are on the same side. That means PNB could be here or PNB could be here. Either way, let me say PNB will be coming in this side of on this side of the table. Now the data also tells us that the finance and HR managers are sitting next to each other, or the finance managers to the left of the HR manager. So obviously finance and HR cannot come on this side of the table, they will have to come on this side of the table. So finance will come here, HR will come here. The finance officer works in Bank of India. And the agriculture officer who is sitting opposite the Rajbhasha Adhikari, diagonally opposite, so the agriculture officer has to be here. He is working with ICICI. That means this place has to be taken up by the person working in Punjab National Bank. So what are these banks? So we do not know the position of two of the banks. We'll check up the data, and one position is vacant out here. So let's first check out which designation has not been represented as yet. So among the designations which are there, we have not been able to put in, among the designations there, we have not been able to take into account IT officer, marketing, law, agriculture, Rajbhasha, technical, finance, HR. So only IT officer is missing. That means the person working in PNB has to be the IT officer. And the two banks which are missing, let's check out the data again. We have taken into account PNB, SBI, HDFC, ICICI, CBI. BOB has not been taken into account, neither has city. Okay. That means these two vacant positions have to be taken up by either BOB or city, and similarly out here BOB or city. Let's just quickly go through the data and check out if something is missing out here. First statement we have taken into account completely. Marketing officer, okay, second also has been taken into account. Statement 3, agriculture officer who works in ICICI sitting diagonally again, does not give me any inputs about Bank of Baroda or the BOB or the Citibank. Similarly, 4th, 5th, 6th have been taken into account and they do not give us any information about the position of BOB and Citibank. So these two will be the areas which we do not have an answer to. Now let's go to the question. Who's sitting to the immediate right of the finance officer in question 46? Sitting to the immediate right of the finance officer. Okay, so finance officer is here. Sitting to his immediate right is the HR manager. So the correct answer has to be none of these, which is the HR manager. Let's go to the next question, question 47. For how many persons can we definitely determine the banks in which they work for? 6. We could not determine who works for Citi or who works for BOB. So for 6 banks we have been able to identify the people working. Question 48. The person who's sitting opposite the law officer works in. So opposite the law officer, let's go back to the table that we created. Person opposite the law officer is finance, working in Bank of India. So it has to be Bank of India and he is working in the area of finance. Okay. Let's move to the next question now. Questions 49 to 51. This is an RC passage. As some of you are aware, my way of attempting the VALR section is that initially I will do all the verbal abilities questions. Once I do the verbal ability questions, I will go to the other questions, which is the LR and the RC sets. But while I am attempting the VA questions, which means when I am going from one VA question to the next VA question, on the way whatever LR sets and whatever RC sets I encounter, I will have a quick glance at them and try to understand which of these sets are easy for me and which of these sets I should be attempting. So when I was going through the VA question in this particular case, I looked at the 3 RC passages. The first passage is a passage which is easy to read. It is on crime and punishment. Let me say this, that and that is what I could make out, that talking about the punishment, the death row, and that issue is being taken up, looked like an easy to read passage. The second passage was on the painting, and which looked a little difficult to read for me, and the last passage was a poem. Now I am not a person who enjoys poetry at all. So between the 3 I was very clear, I will first attempt questions 49 to 51, then I will have a look at the other 2 passages, and between the 2, even if I attempt 1 out of 2, I am fine. So while 49 to 51 I will definitely attempt because I understand the topic. Second, it is easy to read, looks like more of a newspaper article. When it comes to the painting one, I felt it would be a little difficult to read. And the third one was the poem. So between these 2 I said I will do one of them, and if I have sufficient time I will look at both, but my preference will be to do one of them, and between the 2, since I am not very fond of poetry, I will do the passage rather than the poetry. Now some of you could do exactly the opposite thing. I don't have any issues. All I am saying is, in the paper you should do what you are most comfortable with. Let's go to the questions of this particular passage. Before we start solving the question, let us first understand what the passage talked about. This passage presents arguments against death penalty. This passage is very clearly against death penalty. Okay. It is nowhere saying that death penalty should be there. On the contrary, it is giving arguments and different kinds of reasons why it should be debated or it could be discontinued. It is giving different reasons, like it is not in tune with it is a mismatch with the crime. It is that retribution is not really taken. I'll do this part again. Before we start reading and solving the question, let us quickly understand what the passage talked about. First of all, this passage is against death penalty. Nowhere has it tried to give a balanced picture. It is very clearly saying in all its argument that death penalty is not what it supports. Okay, so this is one key thing out here. It is giving different reasons, right from the fact that it is not matched with the crime committed, to the fact that it does not deter people, to the fact that waiting for death penalty is a bigger punishment than any other punishment itself. So different reasons are given, and when you're looking at this particular question, which is the main idea, it has to be around the fact that it does not approve, or it is definitely saying, if not a clear yes that it should be abolished, it definitely saying it should be at least considered to be removed. Okay, let's go through the choices. Choice A: the death penalty itself does not serve the purpose of retribution for heinous crimes, neither does it act as a means of deterrence. I must say this would have been a very tempting choice to mark, because this is what the passage is saying. My only problem with the choice is heinous crimes. It is limiting itself to heinous crimes. As per the passage, irrespective of the nature of the crime, death penalty is not something which it would advocate. So choice A is tempting, but I would be inclined to put it as incorrect because it is narrowing the scope. So it has scaled down or narrowed the scope of the issue, and hence it is unlikely to be correct. But if none of the other choices come close, then possibly this would be the best option. Choice B: the use of death penalty as a means of retribution needs to be reconsidered as it fails to serve the purpose. There is only half the problem. Okay, retribution was only one of the issue which was discussed out there, and there was also deterrence which was there. So it is again not really taking into account all the issues. So choice B is incorrect. Choice C: the argument of retribution in favor of death penalty is flawed, as it amounts to a punishment not matching the crime owing to anticipatory suffering of the guilt. Absolutely right. But this is only part of what it has discussed. For the same reasons as choice B, the reason being it is very narrow, it is not taking the full import or not looking at all the arguments in the passage, hence choice C would be incorrect. By that logic, choice D should be the answer, but remember choice A we put a conditional no based on the word heinous crimes. But let's look at choice D. Capital punishment as a just means of retribution and deterrent is debatable. Yes, this is right. It is taking into account all the issues which has raised, and hence among the choices, choice D would be the right answer. And again I am saying, if choice A did not have heinous crimes, it would have been the same as choice D, and then it would have been an issue. Let's move to the next question. Question 50. Which of the following has not been, please be careful, do not miss this word not been mentioned as an argument against capital punishment? Statement A: it may not be retribution enough. This has been very clearly mentioned, we do not need to worry. Yes, couple of times it has come. So choice A or statement A cannot be a part of my answer, hence choice A has to be incorrect because it contains statement A. Because statement A has already been mentioned, that means any choice that contains statement A has to be incorrect. Okay. Statement B: it can be misused to punish the innocent. This has not been mentioned. What has been mentioned is that it is not retribution enough, it is not a good enough deterrent. It has also been talked about the fact that it is probably not uniformly applied, and hence there are other issues connected to it, but it can be misused to punish the innocent. This has not been mentioned in the passage at all. That means statement B should be a part of my answer. Among the choices, statement B is now available in choice B. Choice A we had already eliminated, so choice B should be the answer. But just to be on the safe side, let's just have a quick look at statement C and D. As a punishment, that means the death penalty or the capital punishment may not match the crime committed. Yes, it has been discussed in the passage. Statement D: no other crime apart from murder receives a punishment that mimics the crime. That was one of the initial points in the passage. So the correct answer is statement B, choice B, which contains only statement B. Question 51. Why does the author state that retribution in case of death penalty is unique? This was actually where the passage started from. Let's just go back quickly to the passage. I think it was right at the beginning of the passage. Yes, if we look at the beginning of the passage, the second line: crimes other than murder do not receive a punishment that mimics the crime. For example, rapists are not punished by sexual assault and people guilty of assault are not ceremonially beaten up. So this is what is unique about capital punishment or death penalty. Or when you talk about retribution in case of death penalty. Okay. So let's look at the choices now. Choice A, barring the case of murder, death penalty does not deliver punishment that is similar to the crime. No, this is incorrect. Choice B, the punishment mirrors the crime, unlike in crimes other than murder. Perfectly fine. This should be the answer, but quickly we'll go to the other choices also. It brings with it anticipatory of suffering. No, this is not the reason why it is unique. Incorrect as per the passage, that is. Choice D, death penalty leaves no opportunity remorse. No, that is not correct. In fact, this has not even been discussed in the passage. So the correct answer is choice B. The correct answer is choice B. Okay. Let's move to the next question now. Question 52 to 54, the second passage, the passage on painting. I did not enjoy reading it. I did read it. It took me a little effort. I don't know about you, but for me it took a little effort to read. Let's go to the question. In fact, while reading the paragraph, I was a little bored, and hence I thought let me just quickly have a look at the questions and see what is required. So when I looked at the questions, I realized the first question talks about why does the author terms the paintings as unreasonable. Okay. Similarly, question 53, which of the following can be inferred from the passage? Question 54, which of the following option best describes the significance of the penultimate paragraph? So 2 out of the 3 questions I realized I need to be a little focused. While the second question, question 53, which of the following can be inferred, would require understanding of the passage as a whole. I realized if I can focus on the first paragraph or the second paragraph where this is mentioned, paintings as unreasonable, and the last question, penultimate paragraph, it will probably make my life a little easier. Let's go to the questions now. Question 52. Which of the following best explains why the author terms the paintings as unreasonable? Let's go back to the passage. The word unreasonable is given in the initial part of the paragraph. It says these are very unreasonable paintings. Okay. Now let's quickly have a look at the first 2 paragraphs. The paintings are often difficult to read. Okay. Though they contain human presences, and many are titled as if they are portraits, etc., etc. The names sound as invented as the shapes that make and unmake the figures of the painting. Look long enough, and Tracy Bergland appears to resolve into a female figure in a long skirt and a grey jacket holding a slice of watermelon, or it could be cheese or a megaphone. Appear to be a little confused, difficult to understand is what is definitely coming out of it. Let's look at the next paragraph. Everything looks deliberate and calculated. Deliberate and calculated, that means the person who is created has put some thought behind it. But at some point it stops making sense. So not making sense to me as a viewer, but deliberate and calculated, maybe the author understands, or not the author, I'm sorry, the painter understands, maybe I do not understand. Or others start making kind of sense that is all Shidbit's own. That means the painter understands it, it makes sense to him, it does not make sense to me. Okay. Flat paints drift into emptiness, distracted brush strokes. Okay. Wander away like someone getting lost on a walk, perspective wrap, geometries fall, space between things become more insistent than the things themselves. These are very unreasonable, confused, difficult to understand. I don't understand, maybe the author, maybe the painter understands, is all I can understand out of it. Now let's go to the choices. The painting served to confuse more than illuminate. Confuse is fine with me, but illuminate, is the purpose is to illuminate? No, I'm not sure. Possibly A could be an answer if we don't get a better choice. Let's look at the next choice. Statement B. The paintings are not what they seem at first and need further pondering. Possibly yes, but let's look at statement C also. The paintings do not depend on the interpretation of the onlooker, but on that of the artist. Okay. Yes, this is what is between B and C, or rather between A, B and C. I will remove A because the purpose of the painting to illuminate is being a little, let me say, it's probably going a little ahead. They confuse, yes, but more than confuse, I don't understand them. But it also says there is a method behind it. I will just go back to the passage. Everything looks deliberate and calculated. Okay. So there has to be a method. So choice A is incorrect. Paintings are not what they seem. Yes, they do not seem what they are in the first pondering, which was visible in the first paragraph. So statement B and C, my preference would be for statement C. They do not depend on the interpretation. Okay, they do not, but of the onlooker, but of the artist. Statement D, the painting require understanding of art and its related philosophy. Definitely incorrect. This has not even been discussed in the paragraph. Among the choices, best option is C. But I can be reasonably sure that this would have been a difficult question for most of us. Let's look at the next question. Question 53. Which of the following options can be inferred from the passage? Statement A, or rather choice A. As an artist, Shibitz deliberately thrives on creating an art that is difficult to fathom or place. No, this is incorrect. Nowhere in the passage does it come out that he is deliberately trying to confuse. There is a method which is probably understood by him and not by the others. In fact, in one of the places, the passage, somewhere in the passage, has even said, the painter has even said, I can't invent anything and I can't use what I find as it is. I can't invent anything, that he's not trying to deliberately create a confusion. He's just presenting his point of view. So choice A is incorrect. Choice B, the paintings are hard to categorize. The categorization never came in the passage. However, this makes them all the more invigorating. This is out of scope. On account of scope, it is not discussing what the passage is. So this choice is incorrect because it is out of scope. Choice C, in Shibitz's painting, nothing is arbitrary. Everything has a reason and a place for its existence. This can be correct. I'll just go back to the passage and show you where it was. Let's quickly look at statement D also. The understanding of art cannot be devoid of its philosophical conception. That is what gives art the conceptual framework. Incorrect. As in the case of statement B or choice B, this is also out of scope. So on account of scope, I'll ignore it. The answer has to be choice C. But let's quickly go back to the passage and see where it is written. Just to repeat, Shibitz's painting, nothing is arbitrary. Everything has a reason and a place for its existence. Yes, in this paragraph, if you can look at, he also told me as we looked around his show that everything connects to everything else. There's a reason for everything. Before that, he had said, I can't invent anything. I can't use whatever I find as it is. To me, this is the critical line. He also told me as we looked around his show that everything connects to everything else. So there's a reason. Similarly, in this paragraph, what you see is again a way of saying that things are connected to each other. So the correct answer in question 53 has to be choice C. The last question, which of the following options best presents the significance of the penultimate paragraph? In fact, the answer to this question will flow from the previous question itself. Just look at the passage and let's go back. Yes, this is the part where we have the data. This is the penultimate paragraph. Okay, but the penultimate paragraph starts effectively from our point of view from here. He also told me as we looked around it show that everything connects to everything else. Part of Shibitz's collection of source material is laid out on tables at Baltic. Not that they have much help. There's a gift pack of multicolored Harrod golf tees, then 2 patterned cigarette lighters, some dice, a walnut, several stones with naturally occurring right angles. How odd. And now he has painted various objects. He has painted various objects yellow. A plaster tortoise, paintbrush, pigment, toy car. There are traces of shapes and contours of paint. Things might be found like likes of song. There are dozens of these objects. How they are translated into elements in his painting is anybody's guess. So if we look at this paragraph as a continuation of the last couple of lines of the previous paragraph, we can say all things are connected and there's a method which has been there. There is some method in the madness which is visible out here. It is not a random process which is happening. Let us go to the choices now. Choice A, it indicates that everything that the painter is inspired by is interlinked. Yes, from painting perspective, things are interlinked, but everything that he's inspired by are interlinked. This is increasing the scale or increasing the scale of the situation. So I'm a little uncomfortable with choice A, but if I don't get a better option, then I will go ahead with choice A. Choice B, it allows for the understanding that Shibitz's painting, though inspired by real life, may portray things in abstract light. No, choice B is definitely incorrect. Choice C, it attests that there is a method to the painter's madness. Yes, this makes sense to me. Between A and C, as I already said, I am uncomfortable because it is increasing the scale significantly by saying it indicates that everything the painter is inspired by is interlinked. So choice A cannot be correct. Choice C at this point of seems to be a better option. Statement D, it supports the author's assertion that his paintings can have a draw from real life and cannot be entirely invented. This is only part of that. Okay, there is only a part of that. Overall, I will go with choice C as the correct answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question now. Questions 55 to 57. This is a set of LR. Okay. Let's go through the data. A cricket team of 11 players is to be formed from a group of 15 players. So 11 players out of 15 have to be selected. Okay. Among the players, these are the batsmen and these are the bowlers. I and J are the wicket keepers. So three class of people: batsmen, bowlers and wicket keepers. We have 2 wicket keepers. The number of bowlers are 6 bowlers and 7 batsmen. So total of 15 people, out of which 11 have to be selected with the conditions given below. The team must have at least 5 batsmen and exactly 1 wicket keeper. So the one has to be a wicket keeper. Batsman has to be greater than or equal to 5, and hence the remaining will have to be the bowlers. Okay. Which means if you have 7 batsmen and 1 wicket keeper, you will have 3 bowlers, 6 batsmen, 1 wicket keeper, 4 bowlers, 5 batsmen, 1 wicket keeper, 5 bowlers. So these are the 3 possible cases which are there. We will need to see if we need to make multiple cases or we can get the answer straight away. Statement 2. H can be selected only B is selected. Statement 2 says H can be selected only if B. Now in this case, H is a bowler, B is a bowler. That means these two will go and H will go in, only B is there. Okay. So these two will go in as a group most of the time. Okay. Next statement, statement 3. F can be selected only if G and N are selected. F only if G plus N. F again is a bowler. F again is a bowler. G is a bowler and N is a batsman. Okay. Okay. So I can also say F and G will have to be together in this particular case, especially if F is there, then G would definitely be a part of the team. But if G is there, F may or may not be a part of the team. Similarly, in statement 2, H can be selected only B is selected means if B is there, H may or may not be there. But if H is a part of the team, then B would definitely be a part of the team. Statement 4. If I is selected, then F is also selected. I implies F. If I is a part of the team, then F will also be a part of the team. Now we can probably look at combining these two also. If I is a part of the team, then F is a part of the team. If F is a part of team, then definitely G and N should be there because F will not be a part of the team otherwise. Statement 5. K and M cannot be together. K plus M together is not possible. K and M, okay, K and M both are batsmen. K and M both are batsmen. Okay. Which means if these two cannot be selected together, the case of 7 batsmen is not possible because K and M both are batsmen. Both of them cannot be together. So maximum of 6 batsmen can be there in the team. The same is true for B and G. Okay. Next statement says B and G cannot be selected together. B and G both are bowlers, which straight away means that you cannot have 6 bowlers in the team, which was not possibility because B and G now at least one of them will be out. So out of 6, only 5 bowlers are possible. So we are still stuck with these 2 cases. So we will see which of these 2 cases are possible. Let's go to the question before we start solving the data. Statement question 55. In how many ways can the team be formed? Question 56. If G is one of the bowlers, who will be the wicket keeper? Okay. In this question, I can definitely eliminate D. If G is one of the bowlers, who will be the wicket keeper? There are only 2 wicket keepers possible, either I or J or both. So these are the only thing. No such team is possible, is not possible, because one wicket keeper is essential to be in the team. Question 57. If H is selected, then who among the following cannot be selected in the team? If H is selected, okay, so let's first understand the data and try to tabulate the data. Okay, we don't have space out here, so we'll move to the next slide to tabulate the data. Okay, here I have tabulated the data the way it has been given in the question, that the batsmen are these people A, D, L and O, and between K and M only one of them can be a part of team. Similarly, the bowlers are there, and B and G only one of them can be a part of the team. The other conditions which were given in these statements have been tabulated here, that H can be a part of the team only if B is there. That means if H is there, B should be a part of the team. Okay, the reverse may or may not be true. Similarly, if F is a part of the team, then G and definitely have to be there. Similarly, I implies F also. That means if I is a part of the team, then F is definitely a part of the team. Finally, we had tabulated three possible cases. Let me just go back here. Yes, these are the three possible cases of the number of batsmen, bowlers and wicketkeeper out here, out of which we had eliminated the first case as not possible, and the two remaining cases is what I have written down here. Now, since most of the conditions pertain to bowlers, let us see what are the possible bowler combinations which are possible in the team. Obviously, between B and G we can have only one of them, so let's put B out here and G out here. C has no constraint, so C is not a problem at all. Similarly, E has no constraint, so both C and E can be a part of the team. Next, F can be a part of the team only if G is there. That means, since in the first case we do not have G, we will have to remove F, but in the second case F can be there. And secondly, we know that H can be there only if B is there, so H cannot be there with G because B is not there. So between the bowlers, these are the only two possible combinations which are there, which also means you cannot have a case of 5 bowlers, we can have a case only of 4 bowlers, or in other words, this combination also is ruled out, and the only combination available to us is this. Okay. Now let's look at what are the various combinations possible of the team. So if you're looking at bowlers, the two cases that we have made are B, C, E, H, and the second case is G, C, E, F. What about the batsmen? For batsmen, there are no constraints except K and M. Between the two, only one of them could be there. And if F is a part of team, then G and N both have to be there. But we are not, since we need 6 batsmen, in this particular case, if we remove one between K and M, all the others will have to be necessarily part of the team, because these are 5 plus 1 out of these 6. So from batsman point of view, there are two possible combinations, A, D, L, N, O, then K or M. Similarly, in this case, A, D, L, N, O and K or M. So while in this case one bowling combination is there, there are two batting combinations possible. Similarly, in this case, one bowling combination and two batting combinations. What about wicket keeper? The only condition with respect to wicket keepers we have is if I is there, then F also is there. That means I cannot be in a team which does not contain F. Okay. So in this first combination, I cannot be there, only J has to be there as a part of the team. F is missing, hence only J is possible in this team. In this team, both I and J can be part of the team. Or the number of wicket keeping options, the first case is only 1. The number of wicket keeping options in the second case is 2. So the number of team combination, the first case is 1 for bowling combination, 2 batting combination and 1 wicket keeping combination, which is 2. Similarly, in the second case, 1 bowling combination, 2 batting combinations and 2 wicket keeping combinations, which makes it 4. So the total number of teams which are possible are 2 plus 4, 6. Choice D is the correct answer. Let's go to the next question. If G is one of the bowlers, then who will be the wicket keeper? If G is one of the bowlers, then both I and J can be the wicket keepers. Okay. Correct answer, choice C. If H is selected, who cannot be selected? G, O and J. If H is selected, who cannot be selected? G, between G, O and J. If H is selected, H is here, O is there, J is there, N is there, G cannot be a part of the team. Correct answer, choice C. That completes the set. Let's move on to the next question. Questions 58 to 60. The last 3 questions of the paper. A poem, and as I already said, I don't enjoy poems very much, so this was my last option. Let's quickly move on to the questions. Before I attempted this poem, the questions from this poem, I again went through the questions. Reason essentially being, since I don't enjoy it, I wanted to see if there are a couple of questions which I can look upon, get some data and know where to focus on. So first question, question 58, which of the following option best reflects the theme of the poem? Second question, which of the following option best explains why the poet feels that those who are satisfied are the most rich? Why are they most rich? Third question, which of the following does the author attempt to signify while stating the example of the clouds? Now, based on this, I knew that I need to be looking for clouds. I also need to be looking for those who are satisfied are the most wretched people. We need to find that. Okay, so I read the poem accordingly. Let's go on to the questions now. Question 58. Which of the following options best reflects the theme of the poem? Let us quickly go through the poem. I know you have gone through it once, but let's quickly go through it nevertheless, to just pick out the key things into this poem, from this poem. Okay, the poet in the initial part talks about the fact I would that my life remain a tear and a smile, a tear to purify my heart and give me understanding of life's secrets, hidden things, a smile to draw me the nigh of sons of gods and to be a symbol of glorification of gods. So for him, both of them are extremely important. Then it talks again about tear to unite with broken hearts, a smile to be as a sign of my joy of existence. So there is a place for both of them, and both of them are important from the poet's point of view. And this thought continues as we go forward, when he is talking about the positives throughout. Is not, I don't see a sign of despair. In fact, it is something which is one would look forward to. Even where there is something negative involved, it still looks at the positive aspects of those, or the supposedly negative things, he is looking at the positive aspects. Okay, let's go to the question now. Question 58. Which of the following options best describes the theme of the poem? Choice A, misery is necessary as it inspires the poor. Incorrect. Choice A is definitely incorrect. Inspires the poor, is not talking about it. Misery is necessary. Again, it is going against the scope, or it is against the thought of the passage, the poem. In fact, I could say the tone or the thought behind it also incorrect. Misery is not what it is talking about. Choice B, the yearning and the yearning of the heart helps unite those in need and opens a greater space for growth and development. This choice also has to be incorrect, because it is not talking about uniting those in need. Okay, so choice B definitely is again incorrect on account of scope. Choice C, despair and contentment. I don't like this word despair at all, because the overall tone is positive to me. Overall, it looks like looking at the positive aspects. Okay, so despair again is going against the tone of the poem. So I would be inclined to say that it's incorrect, but let's read the statement completely. Despair and contentment are both necessary for growth of the individual self. Despair is not the right word at all, so choice C has to be incorrect. So choice D should be the answer, but let's go through the statement. The challenges and joys that one experiences are a necessary part of the journey of life and of one's destiny. Absolutely right. Statement D is the correct answer. Question 59. Which of the following option best explains why the poet feels that those who are satisfied are the most wretched? Those who are satisfied are the most wretched. Let us go to the poem and identify where it is. Yes, it is written out here. For I have seen those who are satisfied, the most wretched of people. Let us read this stanza completely, which starts from here. I would rather that I died in yearning and longing than I live weary and despairing. Okay. I want the hunger for love and beauty to be in the depths of my spirit. I want hunger for love and beauty to be within me, within the depths of my spirit. It has to become an important part of me. It has to be ingrained within me. I have seen those who are satisfied the most wretched of people. They are most wretched because probably hunger for love and beauty is not within them. I have heard the sigh of those in yearning and longing, and it is sweeter than the sweetest melody. Okay, let's go to the choices now. Choice A. Such people have achieved satisfaction due through deplorable means. Incorrect. This has not been discussed. Out of scope. How they achieve satisfaction was not discussed at all. Choice B. They lack the longing that bring with it a sense of fulfillment and the ability to understand the secrets of life. Choice B also is incorrect. It is, in fact, if we just go back to the lines which we had underlined, again here, I want the hunger for love and beauty to be in the depths of my spirit, because those who are satisfied are the most wretched people, because hunger for love and beauty is missing. So choice B cannot be correct. They cease to hunger for love and beauty. Yes, this will be correct, but we'll look at choice D also before we confirm. Choice D. Their lives no longer have a destiny to fulfill and all their happiness no longer forms a part of it. No, this is not the right answer. Correct answer is choice C. They cease to hunger for love and beauty. Last question. Which of the following does the author attempt to signify while stating the example of the clouds? Let's go back to the poem and see where this clouds have been mentioned. Yes, it is here. In fact, it starts a little earlier. Okay, let's start from here. The water of the sea become vapor and rise and come together and area cloud. Okay, so water from the sea become vapors and becomes a cloud. Then, and the cloud floats over the hills and valleys until it meets the gentle breeze. Then falls weeping to the fields and joins with the brooks, and so it becomes a cloud. And then it rains and it goes back to brooks and rivers and it turns to the sea, its home. Okay, so it is probably talking about the cycle. The life of clouds, again the last line, the life of the cloud is a parting and a meeting, a tear and a smile. Okay, life of a cloud is a parting and a meeting. This should be the answer possibly. Choice A, cycle of give and take, incorrect. We are talking about parting and meeting. Choice B, the fact that all forms complete their life cycle going through series of partings and meetings. Yes, this should be the correct answer, but let's look at the other choices. Choice C, the reality that every occurrence has a significance apart from the obvious. Incorrect. This is not what is discussed. Out of scope. Choice C. Okay. Choice G, the coexistence of the spiritual and worldly. Definitely incorrect. This is again out of scope. Correct answer, choice B. This completes the session for us. Hopefully it has been helpful for you. And as usual, please go through all the passages and the questions which you did not attempt yourself. Attempt them. Look at the way we have done. Maybe it will help you improve your performance in the next mock. All the best. Thank you very much.